Commission meeting
You can buy,
for Wednesday, October 11th, 2023.
Here to put in water.
Please be advised this open meeting may be broadcast live via WCAT and recorded for playback online. The first agenda item is open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum?
To remind everybody about Monday night.
Yep. Town meeting Monday night, Westford Academy, 7 o'clock in the gymnasium. Matt, do you have something?
Oh, I have a couple things. On Thursday, October 26th at 6:30 p.m., a public workshop for the MBTA Communities Act will be held at the Stony Brook School Auditorium. Public is invited to participate in the process as we near drafting a zoning bylaw overlay district for the to comply with the MBTA communities. Next Thursday, October 18th, I and Margaret will be attending the Westford Conservation Trust's meeting to discuss them holding the conservation restriction for the house and newly acquired house and barn rocks parcel at Road and Bush, I think 6:30? 6. Threw me off. Everything's at 7 except for that. And just as a quick point of order, the applicant has requested a continuance without discussion for the public hearing for 0 and 210 Littleton Road, 334-1836 to October 25th. So if anybody in the audience is here for that, it will likely be continued.
Do members of the audience have anything for open forum? Okay, moving on to our 7:05 p.m. agenda item, a public hearing for Stella, 89 Old Lowell Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 11th, 2023 at 7:05 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Robert Stella for the construction of a 576 square foot addition, reconfiguration of the driveway, relocation of a shed, installation of a trench drain, an underground roof recharge system, and associated tree removal within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands and bordering lands subject to flooding at 89 Old Lowell Road.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Ian Ainsley. I'm an engineer from Meister Brem, representing the owner and applicant, Robert Stella, who is also here with me tonight. This is an existing single-family house at 89 Old Lowell Road. The house currently does not have a garage. So what we are trying to do is put on a garage addition, I believe, on the south side of the house. You can see it on the plan there, and I'll kind of go up and point. So this is the existing single-family house here. This is Old Lowell Road right here. Existing driveway paved coming in. There's kind of a crushed stone parking area in the back. This property extends like 500 feet back from the road. It's a very long, narrow lot. The back 75% or so of the lot is all wetland and floodplain. We do show the bordering vegetated wetland here, and the floodplain line kind of follows right along that. So the 100-foot buffer pretty much takes up almost all of the property except for this very kind of front corner right here. We also have a shed right now that is actually just off the property, encroaching on the neighbor's property. So as part of that, we are going to move the shed from that property onto the subject property and meet the zoning setbacks. The way I've tried to do this is to kind of make it as net zero or as net benefit as possible. So as I mentioned, there is a compacted stone parking area back there. We're going to take that out. We're taking out a little bit of the driveway to put the garage as well. So when you put in the garage, you take away some of that existing stone pavement area, you wind up with an increase of about 100 square feet of impervious, which I don't think is a lot. But the other benefit that we're trying to do is to take this existing driveway, to take the addition, and to put that into a trench drain, into gutters, and put it into a underground recharge system. So not only are you kind of just barely increasing the impervious area, you're taking a lot of the impervious area that's already there, putting it into an infiltration system instead of having it run off into the wetland. So we've tried to do this as much of a net benefit as possible from a lot coverage point of view. The corner of the existing garage would be about 22 feet away from the bordering vegetated wetland. Currently, the house is about 40. The existing shed is about 3 feet away, and that kind of crushed stone area that we're taking out is about 22 feet, which is 22 feet and 22 feet for the crushed stone and the new garage. It's pretty similar. So that's kind of the gist. We are going to take out, I think, about 250 square feet worth of trees for that garage addition as well. And happy to answer any questions, but that's the gist.
Jim?
I have a question from Matt. Do you recall around Nab Lake how close we allowed the shed? There was a shed that had to be moved, remember? It was built too close to the
I
lake.
think 30.
Moved it
I
to
think
30.
I think it was
Okay,
30.
I know that this was on the wrong property, but it's even with the movement, it's still only 10 feet. And there's plenty of room to move it to the same distance. I mean, that was the minimum, right? That we used.
Yeah,
We-
I can.
If we start using less than that and less than that, then we're
I
down.
think that's what we've done for all permanent structures.
Okay, all right, that's the only thing I see with this one.
And the distance of his garage being as close as 21 feet to the existing wetland?
And that's
I mean,
new, right?
typically, that's closer than what
That
we
is-
would allow
that's
just
closer
about
to 30.
anything.
Right.
I mean, and all I've heard right now is, I have crushed stone there that's gonna go away.
And I think this is because this is outside the building envelope, is there also a variance that's?
Yes, so we will be going to the zoning board for a side setback and possibly a front setback variance as well.
Okay.
Do you know when that is?
I believe in November.
I mean, if he was flipped on the opposite side of this house, he'd be like so much further away.
Right.
So I will explain why we didn't do that for two reasons. One is it doesn't really work with the interior layout of the house, the way that the rooms are currently set up right now. And two, the septic system is right over there. Matt's kind of pointing to it with his pointer. It's right here. And I envision that they put that there to get it as far away from the wetland as possible. So if you were to build the garage here, you'd have to build the driveway over the septic system, possibly move the septic system, depending on where the garage end up. You might have to slide it further back. You might have to move the septic to get it to fit. So we didn't really want to disturb that whole septic system and all that over there.
How much can you shift it forward?
Yeah, that's an idea.
Yeah, just how much can you bring it forward to pull it away? May not be exactly in line, but I'm trying to accommodate you here, but seeing if you just could move it up somewhat.
So the only issue, like I said, the existing house right now is about 46 feet back from the front property line. The front setback in the zone is 50. So right now, the house is technically pre-existing, non-conforming. It's less than what's allowed. We would be trying to get it to go to 41. So by putting that garage in, we're trying to kind of strike a balance between getting it too close to the front property line and getting it too close to the wetland. And that's kind of what we're trying to do.
But I guess what we're trying to tell you is, I don't know if we've allowed anything built in addition like this that close to the wetland. So, I'm trying to find a way to keep it away from that, and you're saying you're trying to strike a balance. I don't know what to say. I mean, other than, I wouldn't be for this because it's too close.
And it's net new construction, the garages.
Yeah.
It's not like you're replacing, you know.
No, something, it's existing, and it's pervious, and now it's gonna be impervious. I mean, 'cause I got crushed down, which is still impervious.
So is the crushed stone that you're talking about removing, that's there in place today, is that pervious or impervious?
I would consider that, I mean, everything is slightly pervious. I would typically consider that closer to impervious than pervious. It's very well compacted, it supports the weight of a car.
It's not asphalt. We wouldn't consider
It isn't
we
asphalt.
wouldn't consider it impervious.
Okay.
The other thing I will say is, you know, if cars are parking there currently.
No,
whenever
but it's
they're-
not a structure.
Agreed, but just for
Yeah.
the sake of continuing the conversation, if cars are parked there, anything leaks out of the cars, it's going right off.
Typically, we wouldn't allow a sonotube to be installed that close to the wetland, never mind a structure. So just letting you know what you're asking for versus what our standard would be. So that's why we'd have to say no.
Do you know when the house was built? How old is this,
You know when the house
roughly?
You know when the house was built?
1984.
Well, I guess
I'm
I would
looking for other
ask,
alternatives.
Yes.
I guess I would ask what the rest of the commissioners think, and if you feel the same way, then we can try going to the zoning board and maybe try getting a little bit closer to the front with
I'd
that
almost
garage.
rather he did
But moving it
that.
closer to the
Yeah.
front, you
Come back to
also
us if
help
you
the
need
zoning
the
board with
wetland.
their side variance too, right? Instead of being 2 feet or 2.5 feet, that's gonna increase for them, which they prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what we approve here becomes then the standard for other projects, whether they have the
Others
same
will be
hardships.
seeking the same relief.
Right.
Right, yes, whether they have the same hardships or not.
Right.
So, and you're generally looking for 30 feet, if possible.
At least,
I know the more the better,
That's-
but,
Yeah, that's generally,
We've approved 30 feet with.
I mean, 30 foot's the no disturb buffer.
Right.
The no structure is 55 for a house, you know, with a, you know, in a previously disturbed.
No, but well, let's see what we can, you know.
Right, I
I'm trying to
understand.
give them some direction.
Right.
I'm not trying to say no.
I'm aware. Just,
well, and like with decks and things like that, you know, that's where stuff as close as 30 has been allowed, decks or patios, things like that. But yes, this is definitely going.
Because I know where we've done that, where we've shrunken the garage to you know, to a lot, you know, and still get the setback, you know. So I see this as being somewhat equivalent. I'm just, you know.
and the same with the shed, from
Right.
10 feet, that should be 30 feet too.
Yes.
yeah, we were trying to keep that away from the house. Obviously, nobody wants a shed right up against the house, but I'll see if we could find a spot that's a little bit further away.
Also with, where you said there were trees that are being taken down for the construction of the garage.
yep.
I'm trying to see where the 100-foot buffer is.
This is the 100-foot buffer is out
So
here.
I do
Okay.
want you to know
Right
one
at the
thing.
tree
I
clearing.
had trees hit my house.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
I'm not saying,
let me just tell you another thing. Let's get
If
into
you
this
could-
wet.
To introduce himself.
come up and tell us who you are for the record, so that we can have your
My
comments.
name is Robert Scullin. A lot of this wetland is also, and I went over this with Matt, this is a lot of, because of the beavers. I've been able to walk in my backyard
Beavers.
many times, like, where you consider it wetland, I've walked back there 25, 30 feet without any problems. And then beavers have come along, and it has definitely created wetlands. This here is, I am so far back that in the height, in where it is, there isn't anything that's affecting the wetlands here. Absolutely, that garage is not affecting anything. It's high enough up, it's not affecting anything. You know, this is, I've been here a long time, and I feel that, this is something that me and my wife really want. And I feel that, trying to take this away for this type of, it's not fair to me.
Well, in all honesty,
Yeah.
we do have setback requirements. You could have come in and had a discussion with us before you got this far, before we could find other options. We could have discussed this with you. I hear what you're saying, but we look at cumulative adverse impacts. And building close to wetlands, overall on a sustained basis, tends to have and contribute to adverse impacts to wetlands. So I hear what you're saying, but overall, in the big scheme of things, it does have an impact.
Well, the big scheme of things, the beavers have created a lot of that. That section there has been created by a problem with beavers. And I think that's part of this wetlands.
So, so the direction that we're giving is, right now, I'm saying, we're saying,
Right.
overall, we'd like to see if we could move this somewhat forward. We were looking for other options. This isn't the first time we've asked for, a revision.
I do want to say, too, we did meet with Matt and the building commissioner to look at this. I don't think we have this exact final layout, but we had the gist of the plan, so we did try to come in and get some feedback first.
I would have think, Matt, you would have given him some feedback that this was pretty close.
I recall making sure we brought up, the building set, the setback regulations in the rules and regs.
I'm hoping that, we can come back with, some revisions that would be something that, the commission could approve.
What are the options, though?
Yeah, if you, what would be the option about going to
You
the
can move this.
board, we're looking to see relief?
Move it up
He can move
towards the
this
road?
straight up and get himself some space. He could take this and integrate it into the front again and get some space. He doesn't want to put it over here because of his septic. I don't know how deep those are, but, and I know because the configuration of the interiors and such, but I know on other times where people have driven over or done something and have the line underneath, he could take and come in further along and wouldn't go over it. So I just look at this and I see there are other potential options.
There's things to be talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thought I just had is, regarding the mudroom, that's, 6 feet, can that be reoriented, if that gets kind of added on to the back of a garage,
I know what you're saying.
so, this moves now kind of down the plan, and, a stairs, I'm assuming that's what the intent of this is to get grade up, get stairs up to, the existing dwelling. Can that be, can that be added on to the back of the, again,
Yeah, we can look at it with the
Big
architect.
garage.
I don't quite know what the intent was, but
Okay. My question about the tree is because one of the things that our practice is when trees are taken down in the buffer zone, we ask that replacement trees be planted.
Yeah, usually it's a 1-to-1. So you're going to take one down, put it up. I share your concern. You probably got whacked by some tall white pines or something, the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had them drop in mine as well, so I know what that's like. So, plant
plant
something
something else.
that's...
But also,
You can plant something else.
with planting the trees, they don't have to be the same kind, so you can choose something that's maybe not going to get more than 20 or 30 feet
There's
tall.
plenty of trees there that aren't going to be coming down.
well, that leads to my kind of the next question. I mean, the distance between, and, I know this is just canopy, are we going to be having a conversation in 5 years because we've now, we have
A self-imposed hardship.
Because there are still,
That's what it is, because, you're building right there, and he's got that canopy, and we see that time and time again where people are seeking relief.
well, yeah, so these are all the questions that,
But that's something we could address, and if there's stuff there, we could do something and replant something there that,
so that we're not
We wouldn't have to
having,
worry about trees falling on his house, and we'd still be able to have,
Just
you know,
smaller trees, you mean?
Yeah.
something.
yes.
Yes, that
Yeah.
would be,
You can't have those pines, let's,
No, they're cheap, but they grow tall.
Yeah, and I think there's spots we could put them that are further away.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, and, you know, the existing, the existing lawn, existing tree line and, appears to follow the wetlands flags,
Somewhat, yeah.
there's, can a buffer be increased, to the rear? That's another thought,
So that the maintained lawn is not to the edge of the wetlands?
Yes. It's something to explore.
Sure.
So if that mudroom was eliminated, you're saying, then it would be 6 foot closer. Would that make a difference?
It would get it further away.
It still wouldn't be
Seems-
30
it would be
feet.
helpful.
But, this
I
is,
mean, I'm just trying to,
no, and I think so. It's hard to say, but I'm looking that he's probably gaining at least 4 feet, maybe more, from just that shift. And depending if he shifts it over and then bumps it up, then he's shown, he's demonstrated an effort, and we're probably getting a lot closer to the 30 than we would be if we, didn't do that.
We're closer to 30 than 21.
Yes. And, depending on what relief the zoning board of appeals could provide, we may be able to get to where we want, and he still gets what he wants. Where he wants it.
Probably need to wait up the order to do it too.
So you're saying go to the zoning
And then
board,
what
get
we
their
have-
feedback and come back?
Yeah,
See what,
yeah.
right, and see what we have to work with then, okay?
but also,
Because
if,
we want to help you, it's not like we
Yeah.
want to say to him, tough luck. I know.
I don't want to do that at all.
no. Do members of the audience,
all I know is, it's such a small fortune already spending it.
That I'm sorry, but I'm sure that's true.
Sure.
All of us.
So try to-
But he has to meet with the zoning board of appeals anyway. He's going to have to do his revisions to the
Yeah,
plan.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, at this point, yeah. No choice.
All right, so I think we are going to try to continue and go to the zoning board.
well, we wouldn't close before the zoning board
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
When does he meet with the zoning board?
No, November, Matt
Okay.
said. But while we're on the topic, do any members of the audience have comments or questions on this project? No, okay. So,
The last meeting in November, because there's 5 Wednesdays, is the 29th.
okay, so continuing to November 29th, that gives,
Is there a meeting in the middle of the month that, do you know the date of the zoning board hearing? I don't
We
know it
meet
off the
the
top of my head.
8th and the 29th. I think they meet the 15th.
Okay,
So, and then the 4th.
okay, so there's no conservation meeting in the middle?
No.
Okay.
not
all right.
the Wednesday before
No, we're
Thanksgiving.
getting-
All right, understood, yeah.
Okay. So,
Motion,
Go zoning board and then back
Yeah,
in.
Right,
So, yeah, I
see
think
what
we'll
relief we get that way.
request to continue to November 29th.
okay, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to November 29th?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, public hearing for SGC Development Partners LLC, 35 and 39 Town Farm Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, at 7:15 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Keith McDonald, SCG Development Partners, LLC, for vegetation removal and grading associated with redevelopment of the parcel for a new multifamily residences within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands and bordering land subject to flooding at 35 and 39 Town Farm Road.
Hello, my name is Don Rose, civil engineer, CHA, representing Stratford Capital, SEG, and Choice. So the town put out an RFP for the town farm project, and SEG and Choice answered it. The intent of it is to reuse the existing 35 Town Farm Road building and then they had other specific requirements. Food pantry and affordable housing. So the proposal is a 35-unit affordable mixed, sorry, I should say it's not 100% affordable. It's 30 affordable units, 5 market rate units in an addition added to the existing town farm building. With that, we have parking associated with the food pantry workers on one side, the food pantry in the front, and then parking associated with the building. We've got we added stormwater. There was very limited stormwater on the site in the regards of catch basins. We've added catch basins, an underground system, recharge system, and we will be reusing the existing infiltration basin that is located within the buffer zone. So just take a step back. All of this site had been impacted as part of the development of the Rogers Fire Station. So in the existing conditions, if I were to scroll back, is here we've got the Rogers Fire Station, the existing town farm parcel, their burn building, and 2 municipal garages. As part of the construction of the fire station, the stormwater pond was located within the buffer zone, and parking area around, or pavement area around the burn building was installed. So all of this infrastructure was increased as part of that original project. In our project, we're actually reducing the amount of impervious, and the impact, the wetland impact itself, the building is outside the 100-foot buffer. What we are doing is slightly grading within the buffer and then maintaining the existing stormwater basin. Today, it's overgrown. They don't maintain it as well as they should. And the buffer itself is down here. So we clip it barely with our even with our parcel. So the parcel line is this dashed dark line created with this. So it's a 40B. It's going before the zoning board last week, and that's the project itself. Any questions?
Far cry from when school committee met there.
Any questions from members of the commission?
It's a great project.
My only question was related to the stormwater basin itself.
Yes.
What's the maintenance? It's, was it sheet C003 describes existing stormwater basin to be cleared of woody vegetation. Has there been any discussions about the long-term maintenance of that, or is that?
Yes, so as part of our requirements for stormwater in general, we have to meet Mass DEP's stormwater handbook. There will be a long-term O&M as part of this, and what the details have to be worked out of who owns it. But my belief is that it's going to be put onto the town farm residents' ownership to maintain that basin, continue maintenance of that basin.
Okay.
We have a description of how a infiltration basin should be maintained, and by now the vegetation is probably dying back pretty quickly, so it doesn't look as bad. But during the summer, you probably could not see the concrete wall that's in the middle of it.
Right.
So, like I said, in our stormwater report, we actually give a long-term operation and maintenance plan.
Okay.
And it spells out how to maintain the basin as well as any of the other stormwater features.
Okay. Yeah, it just, they work best when they are maintained, so just wanted to, and that, certainly is a exempt portion of the Wetlands Protection Act as well, but just in the overall scope of the project, making sure that it is
the biggest
being
impact
addressed.
within the buffer zone itself from the project, and it's really barely located on, it's not even located on the project parcel. It's so it's related to the Rogers Fire Station, and we are reusing some of their infrastructure in improving it.
But discharging to that detention basin.
The ultimate is to discharge the infiltration.
And
basin,
it's
yeah.
sized appropriately for your needs?
Actually, so, like I said, we're reducing the amount of impervious that goes there today. In addition, let me we are collecting and putting an underground system under the parking lot, right here. And so we're collecting and trying to infiltrate prior to going to that basin. So we're reducing the flow and volume to the basin.
And who manages that?
The underground system?
Yeah.
That would be the ownership.
Still the association?
Correct.
Okay.
If the basin is not on the subject parcel, do we have other situations like that in town where the basin is actually on a parcel under different ownership?
I think where they're going, correct me if I'm wrong, I think where they're going through the 40B process and they're
Will create
reconfig-
easements.
Yeah, they're
I-
shifting lot line, here's the existing.
Yeah, so the existing parcel is just that little square that surrounds, or funny shaped parcel right there. We have to reconfigure to make a 1.5 acre parcel. So during the process, we are creating a new lot and we're creating easements. The Rogers Fire Station has a parking lot that is at the back of their building. They have no other access than through the 35 Town Farm Road parcel. So there's going to be cross easements anyway, where this, like I said, this was done through the RFP process, and all of these things are determined during the 40B comprehensive permit process. We create the lot, we work with the town for the easements, and then everything gets written up so that legally the
There will
fire
be
department-
rights and ownership.
Yep. Correct. That works.
Yep.
Are there any trees coming down?
Any trees coming
Are there
down?
any trees there?
There's not many trees there. It's mainly
Two, I
brush.
think, right? There are two in that, within.
Well, so in this area in between, there are miscellaneous
So
trees. There's
below that.
right in
100
here.
No, at the bottom, and where you clip the thing, there are two trees there, right?
I think it's more vegetation. It's not really, it's shown as a tree line.
It says proposed tree, proposed tree line.
Right.
Okay.
So it's more of a brush line. If you walk
Okay.
there, it's more of a brush line. There's a major tree in the back of the building. Correct.
Okay.
There is one very large tree in the back of the building. Yes, that's coming down because our addition is going right there.
But
That's
that's a-
that's not
But
part
that's
of our.
outside the buffer.
Right.
Like I said, the only thing that's happening in this buffer zone really is grading and cutting back brush.
Okay.
And then the basin itself, which,
Can you put back one more tree? We like to put them back.
well, if it was in,
Somewhere
if it
else,
was in the
anywhere
buffer
else.
zone, I would agree. But I say this every time these projects come up. It is affordable housing, so every dollar makes, is important. So we do try to conserve as much as possible.
Just try to put it.
But if you were asking for a tree, I will pass it along to them.
Well, I'd like.
We
to-
are planting additional trees,
Let's ask for
though.
the tree and see whether we can sneak it in.
We show proposed landscaping, so we are,
So let them think about that. 'cause
Planting-
We've sort of taken an unwritten position about if you take one down, you put one
But
up.
But he is putting them up.
Well,
Yeah.
we're-
He's
all around
putting
the place.
several.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're-
okay, then
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I confused you.
It's not hard to do.
And he's got snow storage.
And I
Yeah,
have snow storage, correct.
Jim?
Could you walk us through the sanitary sewer flow from the buildings to the force main?
What specifically?
It just shows, I only see it coming out of the building, out of the.
Yep. Do you have a second plan?
Yeah, it's
301.
I thought
C302.
the utility plan.
There's two utility plans. So what happens in this is, during the RFP process, the town indicated that they have an existing Title V septic system that they know very little about. There's a record on the Rogers Fire Station plan of a cistern, old type system. Because we're adding stormwater and setbacks to property lines, very limited area, during the RFP process, we proposed to pump to the Norman E. Day School, and that was actually something that the town had suggested. We have to permit that through DEP itself, the connection. So what happens is there's a pump station, it comes down to the bottom, and then force main up the street over to the.
How does the flow work between all the buildings? There's going to be sewage output from the
From the food pantry.
pantry, right?
Right, there,
Assume
so
there'll be
there's a food pantry and community room as part of that, in part of that building, and then the rest of the residences. The plumber will have to get it to our, and it will either run in interior, which is what they've said, but we don't have final details of that where, you know, in the preliminary stage of design, the site design is 90%. The MVP design is usually about 25%. So we know that they have to accommodate our roof collection system, where we put the pump station, which is at the lowest part of the site.
Yep.
But it may move. It could move to middle of the building if that works better for them. It's not
You have multiple pump locations then?
hopefully not. It's only a 500-gallon pump station, so it's only anticipated to have about 350 gallons per day.
With
I'm sorry.
How many units?
55,000 gallons and 3,500.
Okay.
Sorry.
You got a lot of units going in there. It's gonna be awfully dry.
And all that's outside the buffer as well.
Yes.
All
yes.
that's outside the buffer, correct.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing we're concerned with then really is the force main, and that's outside. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, this is one of the least, you know, impactful projects. Other than, if we didn't have to touch that basin, it would be one of the least impactful projects I've ever had to do with a buffer on a property line.
So, can I have a motion for a conditional? Oh,
Public?
There's a lot of things that are
questions.
open for where they're gonna go. Like you were just saying, the force main, you don't know where exactly that's gonna go.
But nothing's gonna be going to the buffer. Like I said, the buffer zone is
down
this
the
little,
southern edge.
there's nothing that's gonna go into there. We can't put anything in there. We wouldn't propose anything in there. It's
So when in
just-
order, is he going to provide some sort of O&M plan for the
So I
maintaining
think
of the detention
as part
basin?
of the stormwater management report that I think got filed for the ZBA's review, I think that has, you know, a long-term O&M plan.
And we can make that available to you for review as well.
What's he before, I mean, we don't want to close this before he's
He's
got
also gotta
everything
get
else
the
in
okay to
place.
use the Normandy Day,
Yeah.
the sewage.
No, he's not using that, I thought.
I thought
yeah,
that's
they pumping to it.
Okay.
So you gotta make sure that you get the.
Grant permission.
From whom? It was actually implied in the RFP that would be an option. And through the RFP process, we confirmed that with the town. So this is all, you know, this is
So
a
this is-
town project that we answered the call for, that meets all of the conditions that they indicated. The Title V system, like I said, is an old cistern that's in the ground that's,
Yep.
you know, and we can't, there really is not a good space. Instead of putting a septic system underneath the lot, we put a recharge system and proposed to use a pumping system, which the town was happy with, so.
So we put him on the next meeting with an order, I guess.
No, it's an RDA.
Oh.
But, so are there any comments or questions from members of the audience on this project? Okay.
Still going to be a conditional.
So,
It's a condition.
and you said you're going to the ZBA,
Next week.
but there's nothing with the ZBA that
It's
in
gonna-
any way overlaps with your filing here?
You're both concerned about stormwater. I think it is about the only thing that really overlaps.
I just hate to see him have to open this up again if they raise a question that we need to address.
When is, so your next meeting is,
The
25th.
25th.
but the end of November? So the intent of this is to get permits by the end of the year. They're pushing hard. So I think Matt was at the meeting when because they're trying to get in for the financing for this project. This is obviously a great project for the town as well as for the applicants. So they're looking to get the approvals by December.
Yeah, I mean,
So you sitting on it until after you hear from the zoning board is not necessarily an issue, if you have that concern.
Well, I guess the concern is if something comes up in that hearing that requires you to come back to us, then if we've closed the public hearing, then you're looking at having to do a whole nother filing and,
Well, I completely understand. I have no
Yeah.
problem. We have no problem with that. I'm just giving you the
Let's do that.
the timeline that we need.
and so the timing in terms of, you know, it's the commission's meeting on the 25th, November 8th. You know, and then there's the commission's meeting on November 29th. So, I mean, there's still, you know, if we want to.
Put them on our, you know,
The 25th,
meeting.
October 25th.
yeah.
Right, I mean, and if there's nothing that the ZBA,
If the
Has issue
ZBA
with,
is
then we
closed,
just
then,
give them as conditional negative determination.
yeah.
okay, and the condition being, you know, provide, you know, shall comply with the O and M plan.
Yeah, yeah,
provided,
you know, very
you
basic.
know.
Yeah.
That won't slow you down either.
No, like I said, we are an abbreviated timeline, but this is, like I said, this is an easy one versus, you know, a comprehensive permit, which is a lot more information. I don't anticipate anything that would impact you, but we're fine with that.
Want to continue it?
Yeah.
I feel we're doing this for our safety, though, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to make sure we can give you what you want.
Okay, so can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to October 25th?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Would you like me to send you the O and M plan just so that you can have it?
Yes, please.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item. It's a request to sell walking sticks at Stony Brook Conservation Area.
I do not see the resident here. I hadn't followed up with him this week. I will check in with him and can see if he would like to be on the October 25th meeting.
Okay,
So, make up a couple minutes.
okay. So, our 7:25 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for fog at 11 Tadmuck Lane.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, at 7:25 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Christopher Fogg for removal of 5 pine trees within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands and bordering land subject to flooding within 200 feet of a perennial stream at 11 Tadmuck Lane.
Good evening. For the record, you are,
Good morning, evening. I'm Christopher Fogg, the homeowner.
okay?
So, yes, I am looking to remove 5 tall white pines that are within the buffer zone of the wetlands, not directly in the wetlands themselves. These are extremely tall for the area. They are above the surrounding tree canopy. So with the weather events that we have been having in the last several years of higher winds and microbursts and a little bit warmer winters with the ground not freezing, that they are moving significantly in those wind events. And we've had on Tadmuck Lane, just to the south in this image, and on Dana immediately to the left in this image, over the last 2 winters, we've had this same type of tree come down and cross the roads. So they are very susceptible in the area. These 5 trees are surrounded by plenty of other trees that are full and very strong in the area, but they tower 20 to 30 feet above the tree canopy. So, and all of the pines growth and vegetation is above there. So creates a significant sale. So they are ranging from 106 feet to 117 feet tall, and they're within 60 to 80 feet of the bedrooms of the house. So I will not lie that those major wind nights, I stay awake and listen, because my house has a fire alarm, right? So that way, if I'm sleeping and a fire event happens, I will get woken. A tree falling, I have nothing to inform me of. So, so we are looking to have these removed by crane. There will be 0 equipment inside of the buffer zone. The crane will be set up in my driveway and backyard, outside of the 100-foot buffer. The only impact will be the crew when they are making the final cut on each tree and walking through the space.
Any idea what the closest distances are
To the house or to the wetlands?
to the wetland?
Yeah.
No, he's in the buffer zone,
The
it's not
nearest
actually in
was
the resource
about
area.
25 feet. I measured it this or actually, I think E is the closest, and that's probably about 10 feet. I mean, it certainly, photos were provided, these plants, I like the plants, provided afterwards.
Yeah, so I provided some photos of the surrounding trees.
Yeah, so these are the existing conditions, the 5 pines certainly towering above the understory, which is,
Well, we probably
hardwoods.
let him do it, I'm just, we should have him plant something back in.
Yeah, and I had the kind of that same thought. I mean, the existing backyard is ringed, by boulders with plantings on the far side of it. I think that was a part of the order of conditions which was issued and closed out previously for the property. So I don't, where these, I mean, the trees are probably 30 feet into the woods. So I think, their removal will ultimately enhance the, growth of the understory. And it certainly is, I just don't know where plantings would go.
Yeah, so with a previous condition, I have added 2 blue spruces back there, along with other vegetation and plantings.
Now, the spruce wouldn't be, well, spruce isn't, the blue spruce wouldn't be indigenous, would it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to see these cut like 10 to 15 feet up
Yeah,
for
you're-
the
You know,
So
habitation.
leaving
so
a
you're
butt
talking
log?
about leaving a standing snack,
Yeah.
butt log. So what we normally do when trees are taken down is between 10 and 20 feet of the trunk is left in place, standing upright to be wildlife habitat, so that the part of the tree that would pose a risk to your house and your yard is gone, but there's still the wildlife habitat from the standing trunk in the woods.
For A and B, they are right on my neighbor's property line, the ones immediately to the left. Can those be brought, and they're further away from the wetlands, can those be brought all the way down and C, D, and E be left up?
No, we tend to,
Leave all
maybe
of
it's a
them?
10-foot
Yeah.
instead, a 10, well,
It's
10
at
foot
least
closer
10.
to the property, and then the ones that are deeper in the woods, it would be a 20-foot trunk left standing.
Okay.
Okay. So you had your question. Any other? No?
There was a question about a maple, right?
Yes.
Where is that?
Yeah, so that was not on my original ask. When the arborist came out, he identified a maple that has a gaping hole in the front of it. Those are the ones that yep. So it's got this big opening in the middle of it. This is not a threat to necessarily the home, but he did advise that one should be removed just for safety because it is decaying and got that big opening in it.
And wasn't that near the,
That's actually closer to my houses than the rest of the pines.
close to, I think it was close to the play set or something, right?
Yeah, you can
It
see
is.
it kind of in, it's poorly seen on
It's
here.
Hard to see with the
Yeah,
lighting.
but it's, you can see kind of the dark opening of where something previously broke off.
So did you have an arborist come look at these 5 pines? Okay, because,
So an arborist letter was provided that.
Yep, that was Iron Tree Service.
okay, because that's something else we like to see as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Was that in our packet?
No,
Yeah, it was-
no, I sent
We
it
sent that,
after,
okay,
Today.
so I
this
haven't seen it
morning
yet.
or late.
So I missed it, okay.
Afternoon.
Matt, do you have any comments?
No, I certainly think, and even, consistent with what the commission's asking for kind of the pine trees further back from the property line, there's already an existing, habitat cavity in this tree. I think leaving that for the woodland critters would be a good, certainly enhance the habitat.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the audience on this request?
So are we saying leave the maple?
No.
Cut it as well?
Yeah, cut
Yeah,
that.
so, yeah,
As well.
leave part of the
10,
trunk
20
standing.
feet, 10 feet.
It has a natural Y in it, so I'll take it down right to that, which is probably 15 feet up at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay with me.
Let's see, okay, so can I have a request to approve, a request, conditional negative?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination of applicability?
So moved. That's positive. It's
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So then, Matt, we'll just give you the details of, that has the language about the height of trunk and stuff to be left.
Do I need to replace?
No, we're
I
talking
didn't think
about
so.
cutting
I
down. We
think-
didn't-
No, since they're,
With,
I
if
thought
you-
there were enough trees that he didn't have
It's-
to.
It
I
is-
think we're
it
just
is
going to
very
have you.
low.
He said
bring
he
it to
was going to
11.
plant a couple of spruce anyway.
No, I've
He already
already
did.
done that with
Okay,
a
you did.
previous condition.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
it doesn't mean to have it.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
so can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
You're all
you so
set.
much.
Thank you. Moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, a public hearing for Knowles, 86 Stony Brook Road.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, at 7:30 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application for Matthew Knowles for construction of a 32 by 16 deck and helical piers within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 86 Stony Brook Road.
Good evening.
Matt Knowles. Nice to meet you. So, so basically what I'm looking to do is build a deck 16 foot by 32. 32 is on the length of the house, 16 coming out on the back of our property. That happens to be within the 100-foot buffer zone, but it's in an area of just grass that's right next to our house.
Its closest point is 73 feet.
Proposed on helical piers, and I think in conversations with Matt today, it's to remain grass pervious. There is a walkout from the basement, so it's.
It says there's erosion control measures. Does he need it?
With helical piers, I don't know. I mean,
You stick it in on, how much dirt is getting removed? Does it warrant him having to do that?
And is the backyard fairly level?
Yes, it is fairly level. It's fairly stable. It's all lawn, and there's actually, I think, the stone wall.
Yeah, so basically there's a door on the back and it comes
Maybe
down
we can
where
save him
that
a
is,
little
but
money there.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
it's not.
Yeah.
I hate to see it, and have him put it, it's so far away and so minimal.
So you can actually walk out of the basement underneath the deck?
yes, the
Okay.
plans are set that way. So the door still is functional, but you can't see it from this drawing.
Yeah, it's kind of like in here. I think that's what that's being shown as.
Okay, so, but with the deck there, is the grass really going to grow, or are you going to?
That's kind of a good question. It might turn into dirt because obviously there's no sun. If I were to do anything to it, I'd probably put stone just to keep it from eroding.
Yeah, well, that would be the thought as well, is crushed stone so that the water can infiltrate,
It'll still be pervious.
and it'll still be pervious,
Yeah.
but you won't have soil or whatever washing away.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So,
Matt, you see anything else with this?
a regular determination, or?
A negative determination. It is, the work is actually is considered a minor activity under the Wetlands Protection Act 310 CMR 10.2 2B2E. That's all.
Questions from the audience?
Yeah. Any comments or questions from the audience? Nope, okay. Can I have a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability?
So moved.
Second.
It's a positive.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item, a public hearing for Madan, 6 Fletcher Lane.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, at 7:40 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Anthony Badan for the replacement of existing walkways and patio and construction of an outdoor kitchen and spa within 100 feet of Mabnasset Lake bank and bordering land subject to flooding at 6 Fletcher Lane.
Hello, everyone. My name's Aiden Schlauman. I'm with Stamsky McNary. I'm the representative of 6 Fletcher Lane. I seem to have forgotten my easel, but that's all right. It's a fairly easy project anyhow. So basically, my client here lives right on this lake here, and he basically just wants to remodel his patio space. Currently, he has an existing patio that stretches along this retaining wall here, with an existing gazebo that's set right there, and then the patio stretches around here, and then he has 2 walkways, one that kind of loops around here and then goes down to the existing dock down here, and then another one that kind of goes straight from the patio straight to the dock. So he basically just wants to remodel these. The existing walkways are concrete. He kind of wants to swap those out for the stone steps as well. Right here, pretty much attached to the dwelling, he wants to add a little kitchen area. And then as well here, that little square there, he wants to just add a little spa.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Currently, this hatched area here is a little garden area, but it is just a garden, so we're proposed to replace those with native plants there rather than what is currently there, which is non-natives. We are proposing to have a siltation fence that is the entire limit of all the work that will be proposed, entirely down gradient of all proposed work. All proposed work is proposed within previously disturbed areas and disturbed really existing patio and existing walkway. So there's no increase in impervious area at all. Really just kind of remodeling and replacing the patio and replacing the steps as they have degraded over the years quite a bit. Other than that, really the only additions here are that outdoor kitchen and counter and then the proposed spa. But a fairly straightforward project. I'm happy to hear any comments if you guys have any.
Any comments or questions? Jim?
The walkway, it's currently just a concrete impervious path.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be putting in stone steps, and between them, sand?
Yeah, it's
So
sand,
we'll be able
gravel.
to infiltrate?
Yeah, it'll be better than it is.
You're not gonna cement them in, it's not gonna be a cement path with stones in it?
No.
Stones laid in sand?
It's the exact material in between, I'm not sure, but I know it's not going to be concrete. It's going to be sand or gravel, something.
So it'll be something
But I know what
pervious.
you're saying too. Is it gonna be freeset versus like,
It's gonna be,
you
it
know,
would be an improvement if you go from a concrete pad to stones on gravel or stones on sand. That
Yeah,
would be, that way you get a little infiltration around the stones.
yeah, it would be an improvement. We just said it's net zero because
What are you
picking the
doing?
little inches in between is, I believe it's going to be either gravel or sand.
Okay.
The
all right.
exact one, I'm
But it's
not
not gonna
100%
be
sure.
cement. It's
No,
not gonna be cemented in
yeah.
place, okay. And not stone dust, which essentially becomes impervious.
Yeah, no, I think it's either gravel or sand.
all
Yeah.
right.
so is nothing new being proposed that's not already where something currently is?
Exactly.
I did have a question because on GIS, the 2 houses shown on the plan here are all on one parcel. it looks like the parcel has been subdivided so that there are 2 lots under separate ownerships?
Yeah, it has. At first, I want to say that it might have been kind of like a detached garage that he kind of maybe
So it's not,
Into a,
House.
morphed into a house. Yeah, exactly.
okay,
So
my,
I think it is 2 parcels now.
because my question,
I think there has been an A&R done to separate the lots. I strongly recall a ZBA filing for this to be because of variances for setbacks to lot lines, because what's actually the front yard. There was some odd things with that lot. So I think at least zoning wise, that's a separate.
okay, I was just curious because if that is owned by somebody else, was that a butter notified? Was kind of a
Yeah,
procedural question that hit me.
They were notified. They were on the list. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of equipment will you need to bring in to do this work? Are you going to need to bring in bobcats or anything to, for example, remove the old stone steps? And then how would that equipment access the area?
and where would it be stored if it was going to stay on site?
Well, and some of it is, are we looking at tracks? If the equipment is coming around the far side of the house, then does the erosion control maybe extend far enough over?
Yeah, it will. That's why it has been pushed around. So it is going to go along the far side here and kind of loop around and kind of use this pathway a little bit and enter here.
Okay. Because my only concern would be is, I don't know how tough the turf is there, but if you've got something like a bobcat or whatever that's churning up the soil and then we have a heavy rain event, are we going to, the steeper slopes on the east side, are we looking at potentially runoff going towards the lake?
It should be caught. I know though the plan is to kind of use that existing path a little bit. You can see here, everything that's here does kind of slope this way and should get caught by that silt fence there.
Okay.
If you do want us to beef up that silt fence, we can absolutely do
Okay,
that.
yeah, my only concern is somebody with a bobcat or whatever that's going across the lawn, and if the
Sure.
ground is wet and they churn it up, I just,
If it rains.
well, it rains after that. But yeah, it just, looking at what the slopes are there and thinking about where equipment is going to go,
Sure.
I'm just concerned about what happens when things go wrong. And so the gazebo was within 30 feet of the edge of the pond. Do you know if that was the location of that structure was ever reviewed and approved by the Conservation Commission?
I am not sure, honestly. I know it's there. I'm not sure
'Cause I had
when the
looked
house is
at
built.
the-
or
Well,
when it's even
and,
built.
yeah, I guess, when was the house built?
I'm not sure, honestly, off the top of my head.
90s, yeah.
90s.
Okay,
I looked back at aerial imagery through the 90s on this lot, so certainly after the Wetlands Protection Act was adopted,
84.
but I'm not 100% sure about
Okay.
the commission's setbacks.
okay. And with below the erosion control, so I know on the east side, there's a private beach, and on the west side of the lot, the vegetated surface comes right down to the edge of the pond. Given how steep that slope is, what is the vegetation there?
I think it is all lawn all the way up. Yeah, right up to the water.
No, on the left-hand side?
Yeah,
It's all lawn?
I think it is all on there throughout. I believe so. I'm pretty sure this whole.
We looked at plant Earth and Google Earth, and it showed that there was some vegetation, but I couldn't tell you what.
Okay, because, I'm just,
Looking for our buffer that we.
Well, I was
Right.
just even thinking of, yeah, some type of natural vegetation along the edge of the pond so that if there is any runoff,
I would be curious to see what, if any order of conditions was.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
was
do,
For our local wetlands bylaw?
I'll take a look and see
Yeah,
if there
because,
is.
you know,
Left side and no sand beach on the right side?
okay.
Yeah. And then there's the dock where they have some boats, and
Yeah.
then the property next door has a decent buffer zone.
Yeah.
But
And where
it's
the-
dry grass.
All of theirs is either
So
stone
between the-
Or sand.
sand or, and then grass.
So from the existing, the big existing dock headed towards the property line to the left, is that vegetation coming right down, or are there rocks at the edge of the lake?
It looked like in the picture in that.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's all rock, yeah.
Rocks,
There's no vegetation.
there's no
Pretty
vegetation.
much.
There's no vegetation other than grass.
Pretty much the entire
Okay.
property line, yeah.
Yeah, it just, you know, with all the treatments that are having to happen in the lake because of nutrients getting in and invasive plants growing, if the applicant would consider planting some vegetation right along the pond edge, especially at the base of that steep slope, you know, that's something that we encourage.
Okay.
Okay?
And that'll check the file,
Yeah, I'll certainly look to see if, try,
you know, what if any conditions were required.
yeah, and also make sure that
A filing, yeah.
there was a certificate of compliance sought.
Okay.
My only other comment is the alternative siltation barrier detail. Is there supposed to be another siltation barrier detail, or is that the sole siltation?
That is the sole.
Okay.
I apologize. It says alternative.
Okay.
That's one we can use, or we can are always happy to use straw bales with a fence.
Yeah, I think
Either
that,
or is whatever really you guys prefer. We're happy to use either.
I think the wattles and the silt fence, particularly with, you know,
With the
if
work
we're
that's
going to
been
be
going
trying to
on, yeah.
contain velocity coming down a hill,
Sure.
I think the silt fence and wattle keyed in would be certainly preferred.
Sure.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? So this is a public hearing, so this is an NOI. We would need to do orders of conditions.
Yep, I can draft them for, you know, if we can get plans reviewed, you know, revised by next week, the end of next week, and I can certainly
So-
draft special conditions for the commission to consider at their October 25th meeting.
Okay, so can I have a motion to continue to the October 25th meeting? All those in, oh, second?
Someone moved it, I second.
I did move.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
And just to clarify, the next meeting, would it just be a decision, or would it be a continued discussion?
If anything came up about, you know, the gazebo or the, you know, anything to that effect, you know, but it could just be a decision. It could be, if there's anything else, you know, certainly
Sure.
be discussed.
Yep.
Alrighty, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our 7:50 PM agenda item. Continued public hearing for Canal McGaw, 29 Cottage Road.
Madam Chair, members of the board, good evening. For the record, Douglas DeShane from Finneran and Nicholson, along with Dan Smith. You'll recall at the last meeting, we discussed the project, and the commission had a number of questions regarding the process and wanted a more detailed step-by-step, and I think we did a good job of putting that together. We did a lot of checking and worked with our client and her other contractors to get, you know, some estimated times. So I think our times are very good estimates. Obviously, if we get 3 or 4 or 5 days of rain, you know, it'll push the schedule a little. But you'll see from our process memo that, you know, it's pretty discrete sections of what needs to be done. You know, the removal of the walls can be done in a day or two, depending on which walls we're talking about. The materials are going to be taken off, the rocks are going to be taken off-site immediately. They're not going to be stored. We will take out any clean loam or fill, you know, that we get out of the removals and put that in
Did
the...
you send the project?
Sorry?
That document? Yeah.
Right.
Was that sent? This was everything that we received,
Yeah,
your
we
cover
did.
letter, plans, and the landscape proposal.
Yeah, it should have been in there.
Wait, oh yeah, it's gonna. Well,
Take it off
gives
the
me-
load.
Give me a minute, time to look at my.
I don't remember seeing that. You got to leave it.
I noticed some of the changes that were made to the draft notice of intent incorporated some of that, so I assumed that we sent it. But, well, I do apologize for the confusion, but as you can see, we actually did a very detailed schedule of Phase 1 and Phase 2. I mean, you can see this is a 3-page document down to the very specifics of everything that's going to be done, including inspections, erosion control, inspection of erosion control, storage of materials, and then we put a timeline on all of those activities. So I'm not sure why that didn't come through with the other stuff, but I can assure you it is incredibly detailed. Eric, you want to take it?
Oh, thank you.
So while Matt is looking for that, one of the questions that I had is because we know that Phase 1 is going to happen, and then Phase 2 is going to start at a future time.
Yes.
Is there a plan that shows what this site will look like when Phase 1 is done, with no material being stored on it? It's what it will look like at that point until Phase 2 starts.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Well, map.
Okay.
but it's C101A. If you, I don't know if you guys
C101A, yeah, I have it electronically.
take a look at that.
I didn't want that to go away.
So as we work on, while we're waiting, so as we're working on Phase 1, we'll be working up closer to the home. Those existing stone walls are to be removed, as I said. And I really apologize you didn't see that, because we put a lot of work into that. The boulders, as they're removed, are going to be taken right off the site. There'll be a truck there, so there won't be any storage. As I said, any soils or, you know, good materials that fall out is intended to be stored on the driveway, in the storage location, which we have hay bales, and we'll be covering those piles.
That's during Phase 1 or between
No,
Phases 1 and 2?
this is during Phase
yeah,
1.
that's during
It's
the
during
phase.
Phase 1.
Okay.
And then once those upper walls are done, and the new foundation is poured and the posts for the deck in addition, that Phase 1 area will be completely stabilized. There may be some plantings up there. The materials that are stored in the driveway will be used to the backfill, so there won't be any materials left over from Phase 1. If anything, we might have to bring in a little additional material for backfilling, but, Matt, could we go to Plan C101A, please?
I'll go very slowly.
Oh, you passed it.
No, 101A.
Okay,
101.
Right here.
Okay.
Stop.
okay.
Okay. So, Dan, why don't you show them where that foundation will be?
Yeah. I was waiting to see if it was gonna
Okay.
regenerate or something here, but okay, anyway. So this is at completion, Phase 1. They've completely demobed, as it says in the schedule process. Everybody's off-site. There we go. Everybody's off-site. This is the Phase 1 area of work, and this is 100% complete and done. And this is the lower existing stone retaining wall still there in place, untouched, as part of Phase 1.
So any 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 surface area where equipment was going over stuff during phase one, that will have been renaturalized? Okay.
We intend to literally complete phase one.
Okay.
Stabilize.
Well, yes, and I just.
Be
I know
off the
that-
site. It won't look like there's anything going on after that.
Okay.
Until they come back to remobilize and address the lower wall.
Okay.
A picture of what that'll look like.
Were you intending to leave the erosion control from phase one in place between phases 1 and 2?
No.
No, so you would remove the erosion control and then put it back at the start of phase 2?
No, yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Not knowing the time frame.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We don't want to leave it there and have it be there for an extended period of time.
So, but you'd wait until areas that you had to renaturalize or reseed had, where grass had started to grow, and then you'd take out the...
Yeah, we won't remove the phase one erosion control till,
Till
Matt
it's stable.
inspects it and says the site's stable and only pull it out.
Okay.
So the email from Friday at 12:23 just had 3 attachments.
So can I ask a question, Doug?
Please.
So this is completion of phase one.
Right.
Lower wall to be removed in white, to be replaced by the block wall.
Right.
I'm looking at the first wall from phase one, not the lower wall. What do you think the grade is to the street? 3 to 1?
Yeah.
You mean on the driveway?
Well, I mean,
Want a pointer?
it's easier. Oh, yeah. Great. I mean, from here down to the road. That grade like 3 to 1, 2 to 1? Probably more like 3 to 1.
It's 3 to 1. It's steep. It's very steep.
Yeah, well, it's not 2 to 1. I'm just saying, 3 to 1 is less steep than like 2 to 1. So, my thought was, I see what you're doing here after phase one. I know you want to put in the wall, but when I'm looking at a grade of 3 to 1, I would, to me, think that, ground cover or plantings or shrub or something would be a lot, more environmentally friendly than, a large block retaining wall, which may not be necessary because at a 3 to 1 grade, you could stabilize that with a ground cover or, low-growing shrub, which to me seems a lot less, impacting and would be less impacting in the area that I have or the commission has jurisdiction over, which is that area right there. So, I was just wondering if there was the necessity for that wall, because I do, I thought that when I heard the discussion about the wall, first there was a wall that's shifting below, and there was a concern about liability if children got hurt, and that kind of necessitated the need for the new wall. Yet, after phase one is complete, if the grade there is like at 3 to 1, I would think I'd be able to alleviate the liability issue and the necessity for the wall just by putting in plantings.
Well, can we go to this, can we go to 101B, please? So this is the completion schedule for phase 2, or the completed plan for phase 2. And as you can see, there's going to be 2 walls.
Yeah.
And the inner wall, let's say, is entirely out of the 100-foot. And then to replace the existing, let's say, the existing stone wall adjacent to the roadway, that rather than having a slope, it's going to break it up a little.
Now, is Is that lower wall now farther from the edge of the road than the existing wall?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
It pretty much follows it, and it pulls
Okay.
back in tighter to the house, in where
In the area
goes
where,
into the buffer
where
zone.
you're pointing to.
Yeah.
So-
And
so-
and right away, when you first come in,
This area right here. So
Yeah.
the wall currently comes around like this, I think.
and at that
So we're
location.
pulling it back here,
Yeah.
and this is where we're gonna plant the native species in here. We've pretty much eliminated the plantings down here along the roadway, just, for all the reasons you guys talked about. The tree root system, how close is it gonna be to the road? Is it gonna just get killed with the snow plows and whatnot? So we've decided just to vegetate that without any trees or big plantings, so that there's plenty of room for the snow and everything else. However, as you can see where we've pulled back a little here, this is intended to all be planted with native species, which is in the buffer zone, and also over here as well. But Eric, this plan has been a long time coming.
No, and Doug, to be quite honest, I've been raising, at least myself, have been raising these issues from day one, so I'm not, these aren't new issues to me, I'm just asking the question.
Yep, no, I can respect that, although we didn't talk about it at the last meeting, but they really do want to do this two-tiered wall system to break up that extreme slope. And, they won't be able to, you won't really be able to access that area between the two walls.
So, Matt, if you could please go back to 101A. So right now, existingly, right off the bat, there's a little bit of a berm, first of all, a couple of feet of elevation change, and then there's a near vertical elevation change of close to 7 feet. And then there's the steeper sloping grade back up to the house. So if you can please now go back down to one sheet again, to 101B. So now what this does is, where there is near vertical, we have another new near vertical with the same kind of slopes down here. We have a level flat spot that doesn't exist now. We raise up again with another vertical, and then we have this upper area here that's recontoured to have.
The lower wall is a vertical 10-foot wall, which you don't have right now. It's not nearly a 10-foot vertical wall. On top of that, you've put another, I think it's an 8-foot vertical wall up closer to the home. So we're talking, a vertical wall of 10 feet and 8 feet. And I believe when you wrap around that corner, I think when we asked the question, the height of that wall at that curve going to the driveway was more in the order of around 14 feet vertical, which is clearly not what is present today. So, it's, when you describe it as a replacement for what is there, it's certainly much more vertical and certainly much more, I believe, impacting than what's there today.
You mean from a physical standpoint, visual?
Well, even from, no, because I have to look at the interest of the act.
Yeah.
Right now, I've got boulders on soil that, things can live around and live within, but once I put this wall in place, things lose an opportunity to live there, and that's why I was looking, instead of doing walls, if we were looking to find something with structure, and if the grade was such, I was looking at plantings because it provided habitat. So, from, interest of the act standpoint, I was looking at that. And right now, the only, for some of the other reasons I've heard for the necessity of the wall, there seems to be a desire to access in between the two walls to have additional area for what have you, enjoyment.
No, just plantings, just that, it's going to be really unaccessible.
All I have is plantings there then, so it's like, I could have plantings, on a 3-to-1 slope without the walls, and, it'd still achieve the purpose. It would be environmentally more friendly, and, I think there'd be just as much stability as there would be, with what's currently being proposed. I know initially when we looked at some of the earlier renditions of the lower wall and we were looking for a screen, we had it. Now that screen is removed. So, and I just received, and thank you very much for the plan. I don't know if it would change my opinion or not. I just am thinking from my standpoint, from a more environmentally friendly standpoint, I would be looking at a different alternative.
Well, first of all, I know the major process here is to hold back that hill. Okay, that stone wall that's there today.
Level the grade.
Yeah, but the stone wall that's there today, we have serious concerns about its structural stability, and while it may offer some habitat, it's not providing the safety and the holdback of that hill that we need.
But if you remove those stones, do you need those, actually, do you need those stones there to provide stability so that thing, if you had, had a plantings and roots in that, I drive by lots of areas that have steep slopes that are planted, and I'm not seeing any runoff, I'm not seeing any issues with erosion or what have you. So from a stability standpoint, you can have a 3-to-1 slope, you can have plantings, and it still provides you the structural integrity that it seems that you were looking for.
When you talk about structural concerns, is part of the preparation for this project done a review that there's a structural engineer or somebody who had basically made statements about the condition of the wall and the risks that are represented? Do we have that statement from an engineer?
Well, so we're that engineer, and with the addition work that we're doing and our new foundations here from all this, coming out to where the existing wall is, we're changing the conditions behind it, and that's changing soil loading parameters, and so that's why we just are like not comfortable with it and want to make changes to it. But the other thing too was it was a desire to want to try and change the topography of this yard area here to level it off. So that's where this comes into play as well.
Okay.
But it's not an integrity issue, it's a leveling issue.
It's both.
When they complete phase 1, none of these walls are in place, but it's structurally intact and okay, or else they wouldn't be able to walk away from it. So, and that's what I'm saying is, these walls are coming in phase 2. They're done, taking the erosion controls away, and believe they're satisfactorily completed in phase 1, and then we'll come back to do phase 2. So it's not an issue of structural integrity of what's there.
What it is when you look at the long term.
It's more of putting walls in place to provide something different.
It sounds like phase 1 happening is what's causing the structural, it's causing it to be less sound.
Actually, no, because they're done with it, and they're just going to come back and do that, but it's not for structural integrity.
Well, no, you said that
what I'm saying is it's phase 1, when that happens, the structural integrity is compromised more so than it would be if it wasn't there.
That's why
we're not going to wait 5 years. It's a matter of months.
It's 3-to-1 after they finish with phase 1. That's what I was asking. Because if it was too steep at that point, then that would be a concern. But it seemed like after phase 1, they're walking away, and the slope is still like 3-to-1, so it's not a structural issue at that point.
Because of phase 1, the structural integrity is less than it would have been if phase 1 didn't happen.
Because of the additional load from the changes in phase 1.
So if it's a safety thing and phase 1 didn't happen and they just wanted to fix the wall, what you were saying would be fine. But if they do the phase 1, I don't think that what you were saying.
If they go back to the phase 1 picture, can you go back up to 101 or whatever it was?
Yeah.
101A.
Okay, so there we are. They step away from that. And all they would have to do is remove that lower wall and replace it with plantings along the side, and they have a 3-to-1 side slope that would, I don't think there's any structural issue with doing that with what they've built.
Okay, I want to.
But that's my opinion. And that's why I asked the questions I did, so I could formulate it.
Can I make a couple of comments?
Of course.
So
You got to come up here and give them your name.
my name is Camille Connell-McGon, I'm the homeowner. That property, that wall is large boulders dry stacked on top of other large boulders. When we have rainstorms, the soil comes through those boulders and end up on the berm in front of it. You can actually go there, and if you want to take a trip out to the property, you can go in there, and there are areas where you can stick your entire arm between the boulders. My son was trying to weed the top there, which I get nervous every time he does because it's so steep. I'm afraid he's going to fall. And he said, "Look at this, Mama." And he stood down in between the two front boulders, right on the corner where it turns, up to his knee. And he's 6'3". So to say that this is structurally sound is an inaccurate statement. To say that it is safe, and that it's not going to cause harm to the pond or it is incorrect. It's been leaking soil for a while. Yes, there are animals that live in there, but we don't really want them to live in there because they dig the soil out. So I'm really kind of aggravated by this conversation, to be honest, because you're talking about what we want to do, and I know better than you what I want to do on this property. I know better than you what the safety is. I've had 6 kids, and I've been trying to keep them away from that wall because kids are very attracted to that wall. Not just my kids, but the neighborhood kids. And so for reasons of aesthetics, for reasons of safety, for reasons of holding back the hill, I want to make these improvements to the property. It's not going to be worse, it's going to be better.
And the reason I make those comments is because I'm just saying you're worried about the lower wall and the integrity. I hear what you're saying, and that's fine. I'm just questioning the necessity for the lower wall after you finish phase 1, given its slope is such that I believe that you could put plantings on that and you'd have slope integrity, structural integrity, and there wouldn't be necessity to have the wall in the area that's under our jurisdiction.
Well, that's also an
So,
inaccurate
and
fact.
I'm allowed to have my opinion.
Right, but, so where we're planning the upper wall, the reason the upper wall, the secondary wall, is because that part of the property, we have soil erosion constantly. And you can go there now. We've never been able to plant anything there because there are lines in the soil on the hill that keep running down. When we have bad storms, we lose a lot of the soil on that upper part. So this design is meant to be an improvement.
Eric, I just want to go back to your concern. You're saying, well, once this is in and you move out, now you're telling us this wall's not safe. Why would you do this and leave that wall in?
No, I'm saying if you took that wall out
and just slope this, and just replanted that up to what you're doing with a ground cover or shrub or whatever, you wouldn't need the wall, and that's why I was asking what the slope was, because the slope was 3-to-1. You could plant that instead of putting a wall and still have the structural integrity. Well, first of all, part of it will be steeper than that, but also this wall, even if it's not perfect now, and certainly the new wall will be much better, is still retaining a tremendous amount of material here.
When I drive by that wall and I see it, I see what it's retaining, but I look at that and I say, if I remove those boulders, I don't see so much pushing out from that. I see the ability of sloping it such that you could put a ground cover on it. And Doug, I drive by that as much as you probably have in your years and more than anybody else here. So I have the opportunity to see that, and I drive around and I see what other people have done on steep slopes. And so I look at those and I say, well, there'd be an opportunity here.
I don't disagree that there are options, Eric, but as Ms. Cornell stated,
and I'm not saying
there's more to it. There's aesthetics. There's just
and I can appreciate
part.
that, but I'm looking at what and it's just like I say, that's just my opinion.
I know, but I also want to just point out that we're talking about in reality. We're talking about this area right here, which, do you know approximately what that distance is? right, from the
I
100-foot
know, I've
buffer.
only got jurisdiction within that
little
blue
corner.
line there. I got it, Doug.
Okay, so let's ignore this.
8 feet.
But right here, what we're doing, it's 8 feet. What we're doing is removing this mess of a boulder wall, and we're putting in, if you could go to the next plan, we're pulling it back to here. So now, all that we're inside the buffer is this little slice, right there. So I'm saying that we're improving this buffer area by pulling that wall out, putting this wall in. I respect the fact that you can have your own opinion and that there may be other options here, but, you know.
I get it, this is the option that the homeowners.
This is what the homeowners want to do.
I totally understand.
And the question is, I think it comes down to removing that small amount, less than 8 feet of area of wall, and replacing it here and opening up that buffer zone. Net, I don't see an impact to the resource areas. I don't. It's that little slice. Probably talking, what, 3 feet, 4 feet at most from the 100-foot buffer to the curve of that lower wall?
Yes, but you look at what's happened on that hill over the last 10 to 15 years when there are heavy rain events.
Yeah.
We are very sensitive to, during construction and even not in construction season, we have seen significant erosion there that occurred well outside our jurisdiction. So one of our concerns is that does the work that's outside our jurisdiction pose a risk to the nearby wetlands?
Well, I think we've provided you a very solid plan on how erosion is going to be controlled during construction. We, you know, to the extent we have to use jute matting or anything else to get that stabilized once the work is done, we will do it. We've put that in our plan. But, and you're right, there is erosion. My client just said there's erosion coming through the wall today. What I'm telling you is that between us putting a great erosion control plan in place at all times while there's work being done and stabilizing phase 1, there's not going to be any impact during the construction of there's not going to be an impact to the resource area during any construction periods. We've put together a very solid plan for erosion control. And as far as when it's done, I think we will be reducing erosion. I do. I think we're going to be able to control that hill far better than it is today. Right now, the dirt and whatnot is coming through that wall into that buffer zone. When we're done with this, we will have created more natural buffer zone, and there'll be no erosion. There'll be no erosion. And I lived across from this, all the way down that road, that hill. There's erosion problems, you know, when we get big storms. It's just so steep. I really wonder, Eric, if you could truly stabilize that from the bottom of that first foundation
No, and that's why I asked
down
the
to the
question.
street.
You know,
Yeah.
that's why I was wondering what the slope was.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked on steep slopes, you know, the jute mat, the plantings, all of that, and, you know, I'm always...
Yeah, we've provided for regular inspections and regular written reports, so the commission can you know
Where is
that.
that, by the way, the plan? Did it make its way around?
Yeah.
I have it.
You could give it back, or that's our copy?
Well, yes, and
Okay.
I got to find out why that wasn't.
No.
Can we go back to 101A, please, for a moment? So this right here, we have 8 feet currently. Elevation difference, it's near vertical, that exists right now.
So from the base of the wall to the top of the wall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and so I would like to have it corrected for the record that that is not a 3-to-1 slope. I thought you were kind of referring more to like
No,
other
so
stuff.
you're so I think Eric was asking from the edge of the roadway up to the edge of that wall, the new wall that's being built in phase 1.
No, I'll show you. From right here.
Yeah, all the way
up
there.
to there.
So
That
I
slope
thought
right
that
there.
was like 3-to-1, the whole...
Well, again, it's I don't know, I don't want to stop talking 3-to-1s, I want to talk in actual elevation numbers. We go from contour 100, and then when we get up to the upper area of the house, we're at contour 115, so it's a 15-foot elevation difference from here to this area right here in a very short distance. That's God, that's Mother
You say it's
Nature.
15
That's-
feet over what, 45?
No, I mean, what's the,
I mean, let's talk slope, you know?
yeah, I don't,
Adding 14 feet to
I
the
don't
front of
have
it.
the actual physical dimension right here on me, but it comes up vertical first, then it slopes up the rest of that steep, from the 8 to the 15.
No, I know, it comes, it pops, and it comes, and I just didn't know if you, when you graded that out, what was that grade? Was it 3 to 1 or what have you? You telling me there's a 15-foot elevation change between one point to another, but I don't know what that distance is, so I can't figure out what the grade is.
It's about 35 feet, because we got a variance to put that porch on, because the existing house was 50 feet off the road. It's a
About 2.5 to 1.
14-foot deck, so we're approximately 35 to 36 feet from the right-of-way edge.
Right here.
No, the edge of the road, yeah, or wherever the
Well, this is her
red
property
line
line.
there?
Right,
The red line is her property line.
Okay.
So that's
These are the telephone poles
Yeah.
and the overhead
So
wires.
that's a short distance.
That's 15 feet in elevation on 30 feet?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're not comfortable with this wall, and neither is the homeowner. And we hear all your concerns about everything with all these storms and the way things seem to keep changing and getting more impactful each time one of these storm events comes through, and erosion and everything. And this thing I would not trust for more than the short period of time that is set up in the homeowner's schedule to get between phase 1 and phase 2. That we're okay with, just leaving it as is. Then it needs to be modified one way or the other. And the proposed modified, finished plan on 101B again, please. Thank you very much. Is a superior designed wall that will perform in those events, allowing water drainage behind the wall in the soil, because they fill it all with crushed stone behind it and everything as the blocks are built up. Which is, if you can go one more sheet, Matt, please, right here. So these are, these sections. Actually, if you could scroll down a little bit further down, here we go, this section here. This is kind of the stacked condition. So this is all very free draining and allows water to get down. It can come through joints and through the blocks, because as you can see, the blocks are actually hollow inside. They're just concrete around the perimeter. And it allows for that water to be taken care of without it just shooting down the steep slope and across the street and into the neighbor's property and into the wetland, which we're trying to protect.
So in the image here on the lower left-hand corner of the screen, where you've got the wall, then you've got the crushed stone behind it, and then you've got soil. Is there any kind of barrier between the soil and the crushed stone so that?
Yeah.
Okay. So
There's planting layer here on top.
I meant a vertical barrier so that.
This is natural earth. This is natural earth.
She does.
I think, like she's saying, between
the natural soil and the dirt, do you put any kind of a barrier, or do you just trench
Is there
and
anything
fill
that's
with
going
stone?
to keep that natural dirt from migrating gradually into the crushed stone?
No.
Like a Marafi paper or
Yeah,
some sort of geotextile.
Because this is where, again, I'm thinking long-term. If there's, if water is infiltrating through the crushed stone behind the upper wall, it gets down into that dirt. Is there anything that's going to prevent a lateral migration of the dirt underneath the upper wall into the crushed stone behind the lower wall?
Yeah, the lower wall and its gravity retaining value back against the earth.
Okay, so even if the dirt migrates into that lower area of crushed stone, the wall is strong enough to hold it.
Yes. Yeah, and it won't. I mean, the pressures it'll stabilize. I mean, you're talking about like small amounts of soil washing through from subsurface water movement that might filter into the stone and work its way down. I mean, yeah, sure.
It's small incremental.
Yeah, it's very small amounts. Okay. So, and it stays contained in this area.
Okay. So the water can work its way through and out, but soil would not.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
I had a question about the plantings. Could you go to the 101A, maybe?
Yep.
Nope, that one.
Yeah, that one.
101B.
That one has plantings.
The waiver requested for bridal wreaths, that is listed on the invasive plant atlas of the United States, and I'd rather not see that on there. It's pretty invasive, and even though it's outside of the buffer, the chances of it coming down.
Or seeding.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the two smooth hydrangeas then, as what'll go then if that request is
So the purpose
denied.
of the asking for the waiver is that the bridal wreath, it provides a nice view in front of the wall, so you don't see that 7-foot wall. It's a nice tall shrub that grows about 5 feet, and it's white, but then it has very little low maintenance. It's very, very low maintenance. You plant if you can. With the hydrangeas or a lot of the other shrubs, it would require cutting or special fertilizing and that type of thing, and which would require us to climb up 10 feet to take care of that wall or drop down 7 feet.
There are native plants that do the same thing, like sweet pepper bush is a similar type of bush. There's
And you know,
native alternatives.
if there are plants that have been identified as invasives,
We certainly don't want
We
to be
don't-
promoting their
right.
planting.
Maybe you can look into that. We don't need
Yeah.
an
Well, so
answer. We
it's
don't
the-
need an answer tonight. for
Well, it's the
that.
two smooth.
Let's just find something, you know, a different plant than that, you know, something that's not
Put
invasive.
the name of the plant tonight.
No,
yeah, because
just a different alternative, you know, an alternative.
plants on the proposed planting list can be changed by by reaching out and working with the commission's agent.
Well, how does the commission feel about the hydrangea option? Is that that's a native species?
That's on the list. We can do that.
I don't think we'd have a problem with that.
Hope so, it's in my front yard.
Because we did note on the plan
Are
that
native.
while my client was seeking an approval for the use of the bridal wreath, we did put on there that in the event the commission wasn't comfortable with that, we would propose these smooth hydrangeas, which I think are native, and they are also a low maintenance
Yeah, but
thing. So could you, no?
But that's one of the things that you do have to worry about, is if that area is not very accessible, then yes, the choice of plants that don't need regular pruning or whatever.
Well, we can commit to working with Matt when the time comes to identify native species that we will place in there, and we'll do our homework to find one that is low maintenance, you know, something that you can put down there and not have to get down to. I know they exist. I do.
Thank you.
Naturally, they do. No one's maintaining them.
Okay, so where are we?
I think they've done explaining everything they want to do.
Okay. So one of the concerns that I've had is that we really wanted to see the details of how the lower wall was going to be removed and replaced. And we haven't had a chance to review that. And Eric,
Matt, could you do me a favor and go to 100A, please?
Afraid I go too fast and I'm gonna
Right here.
get.
A or B?
Yeah,
That's big.
this one's fine too, because you're talking about the lower walls, right? You're not talking about
It
phase
just
one.
is, yeah, the mechanism of taking out some rocks, getting it in sight, putting something, removing the soil, putting in the crushed stone, putting in the new rocks behind it. You know, that's where we really want to be very clear on, not so much how quickly it's going to happen, but very detailed as each.
It seemed like what Doug had written was detailed, but I know what you were, looking for something.
Where is that document?
I passed it.
You know, I mean, we've been working on this for a number of years with the zoning board, and I know my client has been here, you know, prior to mine. And, you know, I got to take responsibility for the fact that this document that we spent hours on somehow was not attached. But first I can assure you, this is about as much detail as I could ever come up with. And if the board wouldn't mind, I'd really like to just run through just that part of it for you, because to push this off any further, you know, is really become a hardship for my client. So phase 2, okay, which is the removal of the boulder wall along Keys Road, replacing the said boulders walls with engineered concrete block wall. So,
which is what this plan here represents.
right. So first of all, we would implement all work prescribed on drawing sheet 100. If you could go to drawing sheet 100, prior to any excavation. And this, of course, is the, you know, the erosion control.
It's actually the very first sheet. C00, there we go.
Right, so we're gonna put in all of our erosion controls. And then we have erosion controls to be installed, inspected, and approved by Westford Conservation Commission prior to any work. Section 2, any required pre-construction meeting will be held, and this is when we'll bring the contractors on site, and we'll go through the order of conditions, we'll go through the work process, and, you know, the town will be there to sign off. So now we actually start work. So once the first 3-foot section of the lower block wall, lower block wall, so starting with the lower block wall first, we will work in 3-foot sections. The boulders will be removed and placed directly into dump trucks to be removed immediately from the site. As small soil and small stones are exposed, it will be relocated either off the site or to the pre-designated material storage location in front of the garage doors. And that's what we've identified there. That area will, in fact, we called for putting down a mat, putting the soil on the mat, erosion around it, and then covering the soil when it's exposed.
We have two setups of siltation fence here.
Yeah, so we have double siltation
the straw hay
there.
bales all along the property.
When work is stopped for the day, the soil pile will be covered and surrounded by erosion control as designated by the commission. Once the boulder wall is removed and the area of the new block wall is fully excavated, so, you know, we've cleaned that out, it's trenched, then they'll put in their footing or their stone base for the wall, okay? And then the crushed stone footing base and the segmented precast blocks will be installed as shown on 101B and 101 C102.
Those are the other plans we were already
Right. At all times, erosion controls will be inspected and repaired as necessary. Installation of the upper block wall will then commence so that it can be completed in the same 3-foot sections. Once the block wall is completed, it will be backfilled. Now, this is the upper lower wall, right? This is phase 2.
C102.
And we'll use that material, or we'll use that material that's stored on the in the driveway to backfill that first wall.
Back down, yeah, back down.
If additional fill is required, it will be brought in from off-site by truck and put right in place. So we don't even see a need to store that. It'll just be dropped behind the wall. At that point, that upper lower wall, the first one, the 7-foot wall, as we've been referring it to, will be backfilled. And then, of course, once it's backfilled and compacted, then we can start to put vegetation on that top wall to stabilize things, or jute mats, depending on the, the growing season. Throughout the wall construction, required engineering reviews, inspections, and certification of the work and process reports will be completed in a timely manner as required by the order conditions. Once approved, the final grading and landscaping, including loading, seeding, and planting, can be done as needed. Slope stabilization methods will be employed as necessary, including jute matting. So the deal is to pull that, the upper lower wall first, dig behind the stone wall, put in the, pull all that stuff out, get it off-site, put in the stone base, and then they'll start building that wall. And they'll build that entire wall, backfill the back of it, and stabilize it before they touch the front wall.
So, okay, so you, and
we go to that?
this says that you're starting on the eastern, or the southerly, the right-hand end, and so you'll work in 3-foot
Right here.
sections?
Right there.
Right here.
Okay.
You're working from
See this
east
wall
to
right
west.
here?
Okay, yep.
See this space right here?
Yeah,
We're gonna excavate behind this existing wall,
but
right?
it- what
You're
it
gonna
says
take
is
the wall out.
We're gonna take this all out.
you're gonna take that whole wall out?
Yep.
3 feet at a time.
3 feet
Kind
at
of
a
feet at a
time?
time.
Yeah.
3 feet at a time.
So.
But are you starting at that end or the other end?
No, so
Oh,
the wall and everything has to be taken out,
Okay,
back to the Phase 1 addition.
Right here.
And then at the Phase 1 addition, they can start working their way back out.
But is it
putting the
taken
new
out in
block.
like 3-foot sections, and then are you building the block wall, or are you taking all of the boulders out, doing work, and then coming in and placing all of the new block wall in?
They're gonna have to take all the boulders out.
So all the boulders are gonna come
all the
out
boulders are
first,
coming out first?
Yep.
and then you're gonna stabilize that somehow, or hope that those erosion control measures hold anything back while you're building the new
This
block
wall.
wall?
Right.
So initially, the existing lower wall will be completely gone before you start building any new walls?
That's
Has
right.
to be.
Yeah, and then the bottom wall, the
That's
lower wall.
not what we had
will
discussed
actually-
last, we were talking about as we were moving along, things were gonna get removed and built sort of simultaneously. At least that was my understanding before.
Well,
So, no, I appreciate you
yeah,
explaining it,
No,
I
but-
have a better understanding now.
As far as, we'll have our erosion control, all of it here. But remember, as we're digging this out, the only place we're gonna have a steep, this is where our main control will be while we're building that lower wall, is making sure this soil stays up.
Right.
Now, once they've cut this trench, I guess I honestly don't know what they use to stabilize this, but I suspect they do something.
The upper soil will pretty much be left intact, and it'll be the stone wall.
You use the pointer to point at what you're talking about?
And actually, if we can go, back to the detail sheet again in section, because it just kind of shows it better. So this is in the place roughly where the existing boulder wall is.
Yeah.
So that wall will come out in its entirety, and then they'll start at the beginning and work their way out backwards to build this wall and get this wall up and stabilized up to this point. In 36-foot, I thought we said sections. Is there a typo there?
Yeah, it's 36.
No, I misread it. It says
Oh, okay.
36-foot sections.
So, and then you'll go up to here and dig this back, and then build this section for 36 feet, and then come back down and continue, and then do the two back and forth.
But
Otherwise, if
The
you...
entire length is going to be open without boulders
Yeah.
when you start to build the
Right,
wall?
because if you go back up, Matt, please, right here. So the problem is how to access this, to do it. And we've got, in this drawing doesn't show it, but it's okay. Our previous ones do. We've got the protection that we've put in all along here to not let anything go into the wetland. And we're trying to stay behind that protection and not disturb it and let it be there to catch anything. So we're kind of, we got to either come up and in this way, which is hard to do from that end because there's just not enough room for them to work with the equipment. So we'll come in from the other end and work our way in, and then start placing the blocks and building the wall back out, and then come up and build the upper one, and then come back and build this one, and then build this one, build that, and finish the rest of that off in reverse. So that's the only real option we have with the existing site conditions and the protection measures put in place that we don't want to disturb to protect the wetland.
So, okay, so you're going to take out the entire existing boulder wall. And is there an estimate for how long that will take
Yep.
to remove it?
Yep.
It's in there.
Okay, let's see. Subject to cooperating whether the completion of Phase 2 should be accomplished within a six-week span.
Okay, no,
Specifically, the
Okay.
removal of the existing boulder wall should be completed within 1 week's time. Within a week, so it should take about 3 days. The final excavation for the footing and installation of the footings, I didn't mean poured footings, but, you know, they're gonna scrape that and put stone as a footing.
It's, yeah, right here.
That'll just take a day or two at the most to get that all ready. And then the installation of the upper block wall is estimated at 4 to 5 days.
for the entire length.
It's going to take
Yep.
6 weeks.
Well, it's going to take 6 weeks till both walls, till the existing walls removed, both walls are in place, plus the rocks and the dirt behind them. So that's 6.
Well, we defined a 6-week total start to finish.
Yeah.
Okay? So once they start pulling out the boulders, that wall should be out within 1 week. So we'll have 1 week period when all the
When there's nothing holding
0
back
to
the
nothing.
soil.
Right. And then once we put the stone down, the footing stone, then they start installing. Can I go back up to any plan that shows the 2 walls, please? There. Then they start right here, right? And they do.
How tall are the lower wall?
It's the lower wall.
I'm sorry, 36 feet of the lower wall gets installed, then 36 feet of this upper wall, correct?
Right, yeah.
And the materials behind them?
And the materials behind it.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then we do the next 36 feet of the lower, and then the next 36 feet of the upper,
Date is this?
and then same here. So maybe, if this is 90 feet, it's 3 sections.
Right. Couple days each section.
A couple days each section. So a week to start here, and build these 2 walls. So 1 week we'll have an not unstable, we're gonna be stable in erosion control, but as far as the site being opened, you got about a week's time.
What if it rains?
Then what was the initial comment about something 6 weeks?
Crazy rains.
Well, I said that the lower wall completion should be done within a period of 6 weeks, but that means from the first day we put in the erosion control
up on site,
to the
yeah.
day we plant these plants and stable and plant all this. The actual digging of this removal of this wall and the installation of the new wall, barring extended weather problems, is really estimated to be just under 2 weeks.
Okay.
So how do you stable? I mean, I see what you're doing, but if you're starting
How do you
doing
stable
36
this?
sections, 36-foot sections, how are we going to keep that area that's...
Can we go to that
furthest
side view?
Well,
Yep, I know your
east
question.
In, stable
So
while you're doing the work, or,
So,
because
so
it's exposed.
we've dug out this wall, right?
Yeah.
I think this is what you're asking, all right? We've dug out this wall, and essentially this soil remains. I don't think it's gonna be that vertical. I suspect it'll be more like this.
That's right, yeah. They'll
It'll
cut-
be
they'll-
like, it'll be
they'll
cut like
it
that.
back. They'll cut it back and put the jute matting on it,
And we'll put the
which,
jute matting on it, and then when they put the first section, the first 36 feet of this, they will actually backfill it from the
But
jute,
how do you
jute
keep
matting
the
out.
backfill from migrating, if there's a rain event, what's going to keep the material from migrating laterally?
Okay,
Right, so-
if we can go back to that other plan. So now we've dug this whole area out. It's from this point up to here that we were saying we'll slope it, and that would be jute mat along this whole upper area.
But if you're doing the first 36 feet,
Right.
what is at the right-hand side of that 36 feet to keep what you've just put in there from going sideways?
Because you remove the boulders on the upper
Oh,
and
this
lower.
is an empty trench.
sloped, yeah, it's a cut slope side with jute matting on it.
So there'll be jute matting, but if you've put in the front wall, you put the rocks behind it, and you put fill behind that, if there's a heavy rain, what happens to the fill that you've just put behind? You've got this wall that you've put in, you put rocks behind it, you put dirt behind it, but this end still here is open at the
Yeah.
end of the 36 feet. What is securing that end of the section that you're working on.
Okay, I think I've tried to represent it.
Material and the jute matting.
So here's the front wall. We've excavated this out.
Yeah,
We put down this stone. And then here's your front wall, okay? Meanwhile, the back wall, which goes up here, right? See it, well, we had a picture up there. This area here is the soil,
yeah,
and this will be what'll be jute matted.
and that will be left in place as you're backfilling.
Why we build this,
Well, it'll come out as you backfill.
and then,
Okay,
once this wall's done, then we fill this in.
but,
And
But what you say when you fill it in, what keeps
Right.
something from coming out
talking about
laterally this way
laundry-
into your trench?
So
Oh,
lawn-
you mean this way, like the
Yeah.
36
yeah,
feet?
so, and I think I can answer if,
Yeah.
typically, when I've seen these walls installed in other places, they're they're Lego blocks stacked on each other. So it's not 36 feet total, it's 36 feet with a diagonal back to,
okay,
of
so
the
you're
block.
built, so the wall is kind of
Right.
progressing at an angle, and
Right,
you're
so-
backfilling as you're progressing.
And so in terms of, it's not going to be a vertical,
And at the end of
Okay,
36
it's not
feet.
a hard
It's gonna be
36.
kind of hollow in there as you go back,
right,
yeah.
it's at an angle and they keep adding it on and
Okay,
compacting.
so you're kind of assembling it and backfilling in stages as you move along.
Yeah, so, your wall,
Okay.
every day is going to
Stepped.
finish like
It's
this.
It's
stepped.
stepped.
There'll be bottom blocks, 6 bottom blocks, let's just say for argument's sake. Then the next row will be 5, and
Okay.
the next row will be 4, and the next row will be 3.
Okay.
And then you'll have everything else scraped and cut back and jute matted, and, that's how it'll be.
So
And,
is-
and there is the possibility that, some material could end up down in the trench,
Okay.
and they'll have to, when they show up the next day, they'll have to clean that back out
Okay,
of the
but
trench.
it won't be a hard vertical edge.
No, no, it will not.
Is there a reason you have to remove the jute matting?
What'd you say?
Is there a reason they have,
Oh,
so
the jute matting.
there's the jute matting that's holding
if
the
it biodegrades
the
or not.
slope
I don't know,
in
does it
place.
biodegrade?
My
I mean, we
only-
could backfill it in there, but
Okay.
The other time I've seen these walls installed, they're the structural engineer plan, it's the,
Well, some of them have geogrids.
yeah, geogrid.
Yeah,
or-
but
or-
these don't need
Okay, these
geogrids
then
in this particular
scratch
instance.
that.
But we just don't leave the material in there because now it's gonna all be filled with the stone and the backfill. And I don't
No,
know,
I was just
what the
thinking-
long term of the jute mat
Well,
buried in
the-
the ground does.
Well, yeah, I mean, thinking about it, if you're using it to stabilize the slope while you're putting in the wall, is if you left it there without adverse consequences, that's just something else that's preventing the soil from migrating forwards towards the wall.
I mean, if the jute mat is acceptable to be left in the
there.
ground, we have no problem, because
Well, it's jute, it did grade, you would think
Yeah.
over
it
time.
did grade.
Yeah,
Should be all right.
I mean, it just.
We can
it-
check on that, but if we can bury it, then I know what you're saying.
Then we'll bury
It's
it.
an
As you're
extra
moving
layer of
along,
protection.
instead of pulling it off before you backfill.
Leave it there
Just
as-
leave it
as
at the
additional-
slope and fill right over it,
There's no
yeah.
if there's no adverse consequences to leaving it in place and letting it eventually decay, it
check on
it
that.
gives you
That's-
an extra layer it gives you an extra measure of protection.
Well, But when you backfill on that and you put the stone and the backfilled material between that cut and that wall, it's gonna pack in nice,
The only
you
thing I
know.
worry about is rain.
Yeah, but, yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's
as far as rain goes, if we get rain while this trench is open, we will have the berm, it's somewhat of a berm at the bottom, and then our erosion control. And if we've got jute matting on that slope, I mean, we're that's as stable as you can get.
let's hope so.
It prevents the surface from being washed down the trench,
Yeah.
that's why to cover it. And then it'll stay on its own as long as it just doesn't get saturated with water, which is why you put the protection mat on there. So
Okay.
that's the idea.
Jim?
From the time that they start removing the boulders until the 2 walls are finished, that period of time seems to me to be the critical time in terms of erosion getting down into the street, going across the street into the pond. How often in a like a couple of week period, 3-week, 4-week period, how often can you be out there at the site to take a look? And can you tie it to weather forecasts? Like if it's
I can certainly, if that's something.
Who cares? But if it's
I
going to
can
be an inch of
certainly,
rain.
I can certainly make if that's something the commission, wants, I can certainly, make an effort to be out there, inspecting, following rain events, or every 3 days or something.
Somebody on the site.
That to me seems to be.
Well, I mean, we can certainly, and I know we've done this in other projects. I mean, we certainly can provide Matt notice on the day that we start removing boulders. And then, obviously the contractor's going to be watching the weather.
Yes, and if the weather turns.
What's that? We'll have a contract supervisor there. I would suspect that we can make sure that there's communications between that contractor and Matt's office if it's going to rain and they're not going to work. They're going to, we could let him know, right?
Well, and start it on a Monday, not a Friday.
Yeah, well, do our best there. We want them to start as soon as we can.
No, but I'm just saying it sounds like.
Right, don't leave it open over.
When it comes to phase 2, that's the critical point. It won't be for a while, but once it gets started,
When it happens, from the start, when they start removing the boulders until they finish the wall, that's the time frame that we get an inch or two of rain, we're screwed.
Yeah, well, kind of, but, hopefully, if there's increase in, Matt can get out there during that period, and there's increased inspection, some of these things
And if
could
there's
be
a forecast
identified.
for bad weather, there'd be additional measures taken, additional mats, maybe.
Well, and actually, maybe we want to increase the amount of spare erosion control material that's on site in case there's a need to, in case there's a need to increase or reinforce.
Well, we always used to do that anyway. We used to have people have extra erosion control measures
but
if
not
necessary.
but not 200. Normally, it's like 50 to 100.
25 feet of wattles and 50 feet of silt
and here we're
fence,
looking at 200 feet.
So,
But there is someone who's going to be there all the time, like an inspector.
Yeah. And my client will be there.
But I just.
Right? He'll be living in the house when this is going on. We'll have somebody on site every day.
So.
And I know Matt has done a great job of integrating all of this into an order of conditions, and I'll just want to point out, it does call for regular written reports at any time while the site is open.
That phone calls, from one inspector to the other.
Have people asked all their questions?
It's a
That's the
tricky
ones
wall, so it feels scary,
I know, but I really do think we've tried to provide all
I'm
the
not saying you
safeguards that
haven't.
are
It's still-
available to the
We live in a crazy time now with
construction.
weather and.
Oh, I know, the weather is,
Have people had a chance to review the order of conditions?
Yes.
Jim?
One comment on the findings section, about 2/3 of the way down, it starts with, the commission finds that the new plantings within the buffer zone will be species native to the area. We should eliminate that sentence because special condition 28 already includes it.
all plantings will be
natives.
So so just inside baseball for this, a finding is, a statement of fact that the commission, has reviewed and, has agreed upon as during the testimony.
But what we're doing is putting it in as a condition.
The special condition, where it, shall be native, makes it, allows me the authority that in the event, a Japanese maple shows up at the corner of the corner, in the corner, at the corner of the driveway and the road, I can cite that as, a.
So the findings, the conditions
Conditions are
constrain the project, the findings do not.
Yes, the conditions are the enforceable action,
That's why I think 28 is fine, just the way it is.
Right, and that's why I have it also as a finding, so that's the commission saying, during the public hearing process, the project team has provided, has shown that, the species being planted within the buffer are native.
So the findings represent the project as it was proposed by the applicant, and then the conditions allow Matt to enforce
Yes.
as needed. What was her, okay. I really appreciate the time and the detail in explaining how the phase 2 wall is going to be removed, because
That's your
I
big
had
concern.
No, I had, in terms of the testimony at previous hearings, what I thought I heard was nothing like what you just described. So now I have a much better understanding of what the work is going to be and what the controls and the protection that are put in place. So that additional understanding I find very helpful. The only thing that I'm going to propose with that new information is where it talks about, and I forget which condition it is, it talks about the, condition 37, 25 feet of straw wattles and 50 feet of silt fence. If we're in a catastrophic weather situation, I would rather be sure that at that time in phase 2, on site, we have enough material that if we need to enforce that entire length along the edge of the roadway while the while the wall is being replaced, I'd want to make sure that the crew working there has the materials to quickly react to a bad situation.
Okay.
I can certainly amend that special condition to, during phase 2, sufficient erosion controls for the length of between the driveway and the end of the property, as installed.
Just in case.
Yeah, just so that,
In emergency.
just so that if somebody is trying to react, they have the materials they need to do to react quickly.
That's the time when we need it.
Yes.
A double of this.
Okay.
That's just something I just gotta do.
Matt, do you have anything else? Okay, I'll let you finish writing. Any other commissioners have any comments or questions?
Questions from the audience?
Questions from the audience?
They're all in bed.
Ask the question.
My only other point would be to include in the final, on page 10E, in the final approved plan, include the project process and timeline, and if that can be sent over in the morning so we can have include that as attached to the...
As a document of record?
Yeah, in the project file, but also so it is, a part of the recorded page as well, recorded material.
Okay.
But that's the only piece that I had.
If it helps at all, on the drawings, we put a note that actually references that document.
Yeah, but this is what's recorded at the registry of deeds.
Just letting you know, there's a tie-in there with what was submitted on the drawing.
So can I have if there are no further questions, can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
I'm opposed.
One opposed, two opposed. Any abstentions? No. Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll work with Matt to make sure that this
just a tricky
process
piece,
is done correctly.
Yeah. Got the royal treatment.
Thank you very much.
Pray that the weather stays
No,
nice.
bro, that's it. I like these. I gotta get one.
Okay, moving on to our other 7:50 PM agenda item. continue public hearing for Fox River LLC 0 and 210 Littleton Road.
Ask for a continuance.
Yeah, they've asked for a
Yes.
continuance to 10/25.
Anywhere.
And I have,
Anywhere. in
and I
Westford.
have a motion to continue the public hearing to October 25th.
So move.
I wasn't listening, I'm
All's
so
in
sorry.
favor?
What was the, what was?
We're
what's
just
the
about to
input
vote.
out?
This is for 0 and 210 Littleton Road. Continue public hearing to October 25th.
Okay, it's fine, so move.
Second?
It's already been made.
All's in favor?
Okay, Eric. Moving on to our discussion and action items.
Of which we have 400.
Oh, well, I will be brief and expedient.
Right.
The
Okay.
broken Stony Brook bench. Stony Brook bench
Can't even speak.
is scheduled to be replaced next week.
Oh, good.
And I will hope, weather pending, and I hope to have photos documenting for the commission's next
Week
meeting.
from today, you mean?
Next week, yes. Next, I think it's scheduled for next Wednesday,
Okay,
but
so the 18th.
pending, weather pending.
18 means life, it's a
Been
good
in touch
lucky
with
day.
Nancy Ebriel.
Yes, I've spoken with Nancy as well.
Okay.
She is available.
Did you know that, Jim?
What?
18 means life in Hebrew. It's a lucky number.
We'll see.
Okay. Stony Brook Conservation Area User Concerns Follow-up.
We have anything new?
Well, did you, the email, so somebody was watching us on cable TV a couple of weeks ago,
Because they had nothing else to do.
and they took,
Hey, I watch it.
well, they took away the message that
My husband watched.
they should report any large gatherings, and so we had to kind of say, no, it's not the size of the gathering, it's
It's what's happening.
that they're doing things that are posted as prohibited. But what was also interesting is she observed the same behavior at the Nab Lake beaches. So
Say that
she
again,
observed the same large gatherings not following the posted
that's
rules
interesting.
at Nab Lake. So
And there's a
Nab
lot of
Lake.
people that bring their dogs there too. They're not supposed to.
they're not supposed to bring the dogs to the
No
beach
dogs
at all?
are allowed at Edwards.
No dogs, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, but for me, the takeaway was when we're having these conversations in the meeting, we need to be mindful that people are listening to what we say. So when we talk about large gatherings and that we don't like, that something is wrong, we need to tie it specifically back to prohibited
Action.
activities. Just so that people don't walk away with the wrong message. Okay. Anything else you had to add on that?
Not this time.
Okay. Towards conservation area.
So the letters were sent out following the last meeting, and I received 2 calls from residents informing of property owners that they have observed violating the rules and regulations by dumping. And so I will be resending more letters out tomorrow to a new targeted group of abutting, further expanding the abutting.
Okay.
And the assistant DPW director was out last week, so he hasn't gotten back to me. But I will get fencing up and signs.
You talk to Steve directly?
It'd be more with Kyle,
Okay.
but he
Thanks,
was
Matt.
out, so it's on my list.
And then the discontinued road between Providence Road and Kersey Circle?
I have a draft. You can take it home. I will table this to the next meeting so that we can discuss it with the intent with which it should be.
The only way this works is if we have unanimous support from all of the neighbors that split
I
the
think
road,
you
right?
could zigzag, but I want unanimous support too.
But at least
then it's a mandate.
At one point, it has to be to the center line, at least one point on each
Exactly.
property line. Okay. Planning board.
So this application for site plan review and a special permit under the Water Resources Protection Overlay District of the zoning bylaw was received by myself and per the zoning bylaw, which I try not to violate as much as possible. One of the sections, the special permit procedures for this review by other boards and officials, the Conservation Commission is listed. Reports from other boards and officials shall be submitted to the planning board by the date of the public hearing, but in any case within 35 days of receipt of the reviewing party of all the required materials. There are no jurisdictional wetland resource areas in proximity to 487 Groton Road where the proposed site plan review and special permit is being sought. But I'm bringing it to you, and with your permission, I'd like to respond to the planning department staff that the commission has no comments and is not subject to jurisdiction under the act or bylaw.
You have our permission. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Do we need to take a vote on that, or are you just good with us? Okay.
You have been notified, you have reviewed.
We've been put on notice.
Excuse me.
Summer Village Conservation Restriction Amendment Update. This was requested by the chair to be added to the agenda. I don't have an update at this time.
Okay.
But we know what attorney is now working with?
I have made progress. It just, I don't have want to wait for a more substantial update.
Okay.
Order of conditions compliance for 31 Bridge Street, 334-1783. The special condition of note that I'm sure that said 2 months from the date of issuance. The date of issuance was August 24th. So by the commission's next meeting on October 25th, I will have an update or compliance or something to that effect.
Okay.
Enforcement order update for Spalding Hill Estates 334-1710. The wetland scientist from Oxbow Associates was out on site the Friday following the commission's last meeting and is in the process of preparing a report. I reached out this afternoon. I did not hear back.
So how long ago was that?
Beginning of July.
Month, 6 weeks since the incident took place?
Yes, end of June, beginning of July.
Over 2 months.
3+.
Yes.
You know.
Math's hard.
And this is one of the most egregious releases we had into a resource area from any project, development that has been constructed. I would think that there needs to be a little more, necessity and urgency in, trying to right the wrong. We were told that this was really, a terrible thing, and yet 2 months later, nobody's taken a step to remedy it. Meanwhile, things are happily moving forward up at the site. It just seems,
So if
then where's the enforcement and where's the teeth of it if, we're waiting something, but it's taking so long? It doesn't seem to be,
Well, and are
we need
we-
to put a time limit on this to get something before us.
And with the change of the seasons, are we also, is potentially the door on a window of opportunity closing?
I think, and that's unfortunate too, that it's been a couple of months, and now they're gonna be talking about maybe a restoration effort in the spring. And, so we lost, another 4 or 5 months that something could be done?
So,
It just seems not to be very effective.
and so you're chasing Oxbow?
Yes, who was the consultant hired to do the assessment and develop the remediation.
What I'm kind of wondering is why isn't the applicant and their engineer chasing Oxbow?
I can certainly direct them to review this portion of the meeting, and if you would like, I can require, I can request them be at the next meeting, and, if the commission wants to impose,
I would.
Yeah, I want him at the next meeting.
Yep,
I mean,
okay.
God, this is supposed to be such a terrible thing, and it was. And I feel like they're not treating it as serious as it is, and things are going along, and they're, going forth on their project, and this is not a priority, and it's taking a back seat, and it needs to be a priority, and it needs to be remedied.
Well, and I think they need to be doing the work and the follow-up, it shouldn't be the town following up with the consultant they want to hire.
Wasn't there, didn't we waive a fine in
There
this
were
case?
considerations of fines, and I think that ought to be on the agenda topic.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, and that,
And one of the things that happened, I think, after they showed up at the meeting, they said, whatever, there was a lot of rain, and there was a really heavy rain like 3 or 4 days later.
Mhm.
It was a weekend.
No, was there,
there
wasn't a release after we issued the,
not that I'm aware, I don't recall there was
well, I think it may have been that they'd
But
shored
were
up.
you made aware of the original, or did we go on site and find out, and we were told after the fact? It was
We
not brought to
observed-
our attention.
We observed
it.
one, the first one, the first release to the wetland to the north of the development. The subsequent releases were down Dunstable, down St. Augustine Drive and onto Groton Road. Those were that was the second enforcement order, which required the assessment, the assessment and the fine, that's where the fines were. The initial enforcement order was to, stabilize the site and, following, one of those significant.
But wasn't it the DPW that noticed that notified us about the release of water onto coming down St. Augustine and onto Groton Road?
It was the DPW, the health department. There were numerous parties with which were notified by,
Yeah, but I think they need to come and tell us what they're going to do to get this ball moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cloverleaf, I will have they're actually seeking a request for determination of applicability at the commission's next meeting, and we can follow up with what renaturalization or restoration of disturbed areas within the 50-foot buffer has occurred.
Discussion of special town meeting articles and potential
Monday night.
positions. Monday night.
Everybody planning on attending? Anybody not planning on attending?
Is anybody
All
not?
planning on attending?
I certainly am.
I'm just asking.
I think so.
Okay.
Are we taking positions on anything?
I don't think there's anything that screams out conservation.
Well, the only thing is you have, just thinking of,
Anything we need to take a position on?
no, you have the
I think
CPA
it's-
piece that we were tangentially involved in, that's all.
We were, but that was as a jurisdictional authority, so that's,
So then I don't.
they have a negative determination, that's the,
Yep,
I don't know
yep.
if that's
Yep.
support.
She
but
came and
that's-
did what she needed to do.
In that case, I may or may not attend. Let's see.
I still think
No, I'll
there's
definitely be there.
plenty for a quorum in the
Well,
event.
and
Right, so.
there'll be an all
Yeah, I
boards
got it.
meeting posted, so if something comes up where we need to talk,
Yeah.
there's gonna be enough of
Yeah.
us to
That's
be
all
a quorum.
Have a quorum to
That's in all
deliberate.
boards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Request for certificate of compliance.
I have two. The first is file number 3341778 for 12 Antares Way. This was for the construction of a basketball court in proximity to the wetland resource. The as-built plan was provided. The impervious area calculations are consistent with what was proposed. The shed is located in a different location. It's a little bit closer to the wetland resource area, but it is still outside the 55-foot wetland buffer with which the commission would, for a structure. So I certainly, the stone, the perimeter drain around the stone, which is oversized and larger than was. This would have, the original request was submitted back in beginning of May this year, but at that time, as seen on the photos, the area in front of the shed was it was stable, but just no growth was observed. After my site visit this past week, the erosion of the lawn area has grown in, and the erosion controls, I think, were removed. They were taken after this photo because the growth was in. And I would recommend the commission issue a certificate of compliance for substantial conformance with the approved plans.
I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1778.
So move.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye.
The second certificate of compliance was for a project that was before the commission last year. The proponents were seeking to create a little bit more usable area to the rear of their house. There was an existing boulder riprap wall. They've also sought permission for a kind of a open air pavilion and an outdoor kitchen. The pavers that were installed were of the pervious persuasion and were installed as such. One deviation noted by the project engineer was that where's his letter? Was that the approved site plan had approximately 1,230 square feet of pervious patio surface. The as-built condition has 1,390. The expansion is outside of the 50-foot local no disturb buffer, and is consistent with something that I think the commission would have approved originally. As such, I think the site is in substantial conformance with the approved plans and would recommend issuing the certificate of compliance as such.
Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1803, 8 Callista Terrace?
Second.
What was I just signed?
That was 12 keys, or 29 keys.
Oh, okay.
Order, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just got your,
So, let's see. Moving on to review of the proposed meeting dates for 2024.
The only potential conflict I see is with Eid al-Fitr on April 10th. Recommend not holding a meeting that date. Everything else, I think with the removal of that meeting date, I think we get to 19. The commission holding 19 meetings. And in the event that something comes up that needs attention between the...
none of those are, she's worried.
No,
None
so
of
the
the-
Christmas, no, because I thought we got to 21.
Was it 20? Maybe it was 21. I knew it was an odd number.
We're missing, we're dropping 3 meetings, April 10th,
Yeah.
Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So so we're 21 meetings instead of 24.
Eid al-Fitr comes out, what else?
That's Thanksgiving Eve and Christmas, which weren't highlighted
Right,
initially.
they weren't
anyways.
meetings proposed anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Just the Eid holiday, all right.
So those, is that schedule good with people?
That's fine, I looked at it for them before.
You can always adjust if need be.
Yep. Minutes for September 27th? People have had a chance to review them?
All set.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for September 27th, 2023?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Want to control the executive session one?
Sure. I mean, they were included.
Okay.
These three meeting executive session minutes for July 27th, 2022, November 30th, 2022, and May 10th, 2023 were previously approved but not released. They were for the Commission's acquisition of the house and barn rock parcel. As the acquisition has been completed, they can be released now, and I found a historical executive session minutes that I'll have for the next Commission's agenda to review and approve and release. But
We still have to vote on these?
I would recommend to
We vote on those before?
to release them.
Oh, to release them is fine. Okay, so you'll send them to me so I can file them away.
Can I have a motion to release the executive session minutes for July 27th, 2022, November 30th, 2022, and May 10th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? No.
No, I mean,
You don't have to worry about
process,
that.
yeah, it's, you know.
Okay.
The planning board held their first, opened the public hearing for the project at 0 and 210 Littleton Road. I think the planning board was trying to schedule a site visit. I can certainly let the commissioners know when that's going to be, if anybody is interested and available. Just, we weren't technically invited, but if y'all want to go, we can certainly piggyback another board's meeting and we'll reach out with the dates. I don't know if the
What are they looking at?
210 Littleton Road, the daycare facility, but wanted to provide the option to the commission if people are available at the same time, whenever that is.
Okay. You have something to say? No. Okay. So if that's it, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.